I have a mom friend, and I was checking out her Instagram. When I clicked on her photo, every single one was a tag about where she bought it. Did she do that, or was that automatic?
Oh, that's weird.
Like, it had like her sunglasses, like the shirt was from Target. It was the weirdest thing. Like, I don't know if she did it or if it was the algorithm.
Yeah.
Well, we were playing with the algorithm the other day. We kept on repeating cloud shoes, cloud shoes, cloud shoes, just to see if Instagram is going to show it to me. And it did. We had a room on Clubhouse like that, and next day Instagram started showing me the cloud shoes, and
Are you
before that it
serious?
never did.
I guess that's kind of like the you're fulfilling your fantasies, The Secret, where you just say it out loud 3 times, and
That
then
that
Yeah.
the
room, right?
algorithm
And
makes it
What room
happen.
you going to?
my friend chose nose hair clipper.
Oh, I'm a little confused. So cloud shoes, are they a thing, or did you see like photos of clouds and then shoes?
No, I have cloud shoes. I
What are
don't have.
they? I don't know what they are.
Oh,
What
just
is cloud
Google them.
shoes?
On. They're at Bloomingdale's. I've never seen their ad on Instagram. So I
Huh.
just chose to talk about them with my friends because we were all trying to trick the algorithm. And he
It
chose
worked.
a nail nail clipper. Other person chose nose hair clippers and the brands. But for me, it only showed the cloud shoes, and I'm not sure what it showed for them. I'm going to collect the data today and
Is
update you
this
guys.
is this is this the world's lightest running shoe with the on cloud? This one?
Yes, yes.
Oh, launched into the world
ON.
of zero gravity running. I see.
I don't run. That's probably why.
I don't run either, but I love
Are these
comfortable shoes.
Amazon cloud shoes or Azure cloud shoes?
I have a
Let me
pair.
see.
I love them actually.
I
They're
have
very
a pair, and I find them a little bit hard in the sole, but they're good. The Nikes are the best for me.
Yeah. Oh well.
But they're
Yeah.
Swiss.
I think the name is called On, right? On running.
yes ON.
Yeah, ON. Ah, marketing is just marketing. I think Skechers shoe is not too bad too.
Yes, Skechers are good too.
The sole is quite nice. Okay, Tyler. We are
Okay.
2 minutes past the top of the hour. Peep peep peep.
Okay, 1 second.
Yeah.
I need
You
to,
forgot your horn.
where is it? Air horn. Where's the air horn?
Yes.
There it is.
Yes. And your
Okay.
Twitter live streaming, is it done?
I think it's done. You can check it if
Okay.
you go to the Tech News Twitter account, TNATW, and the top pinned tweet should be a live stream for your friends who are not cool enough to be in Clubhouse. And it's Tuesday, and it's October 12th, 2021. Mercury's still in retrograde. For how much longer? I'm not sure. But the top story on this very happy Tuesday is from Axios that says that the whistleblower Frances Haugen accepts an invitation to brief Facebook's oversight board, which she claims Facebook has lied to repeatedly. And this is the quote-unquote independent oversight board that Facebook put together to help make decisions about about moderation for interesting cases. And their most high-profile case, of course, was deciding whether or not Mr. Donald J. Trump should be allowed on the platform. And they recently decided no, he shouldn't be. And you can understand why Facebook would want to delegate that out to a sort of third party, however, of their own choosing. Semi-independent, I guess you might call it. And now they were surprised to learn, as everybody was, that the whistleblower a week or so ago said that there's a list of people who are immune from strikes and moderations and bannings. And they're able to walk all over Facebook's policies of hate speech and whatnot. And so the oversight board asked for more details, and apparently Facebook said no. And then they've asked the whistleblower for a meeting, and she said yes. And then in accepting the meeting, she says that Facebook's been lying to your ass repeatedly. That's the headline from Axios. And as a related one from the Wall Street Journal, that the whistleblower's lawyer says that the SEC has been communicating with her lawyers over her claims about Facebook. Okay, well, that could be interesting. Let's see what that's about. Whistleblower allegations don't resemble a typical securities fraud case, but the pressure to investigate is strong. The controversy over what Facebook has said about social and emotional hazards stemming from its products could become a test of regulators' growing interest in political or policing corporate risks that hurt reputations more than profits. The SEC has been communicating with attorneys for Frances Haugen, the former Facebook product manager who blew the whistle, on the company's efforts to grapple with problems it played down in public, according to John Napier-Ty, a lawyer representing her. Facebook didn't respond to a request for comment, and the SEC declined to confirm whether it's probing Ms. Haugen's allegations, but the agency, the SEC, is almost certain to be doing so, according to Mark Fagel, a former director of the SEC's San Francisco office. With the quote, given how much play this has gotten, especially with the revelation that the whistleblower went to the SEC, there's no way they're not looking at this and feeling pressure to bring some sort of case, Mr. Fogel said. Facebook has come under criticism for its targeting of young people and how it responds to misuse of its products since the Wall Street Journal began publishing a series of stories based in part on documents gathered by Ms. Haugen. The journal's reporting detailed the company's internal research linking to... Now, Wall Street Journal's now just regurgitating articles they wrote 2 weeks ago. We're just writing a post to remind you that we wrote a post 2 weeks ago, that we found some stuff.
It's like liking your own Facebook.
It's like retweeting yourself. That's kind of funny.
Is that bad?
The reporting we did 2 weeks ago also showed. Yeah, this is just hilarious stuff. The reporting that they did 2 weeks ago also showed that Facebook's efforts to curb the misuse of its platform. It's like, what? You're reporting your own news? We're reporting this just in. We're reporting that we reported something 2 weeks ago, and the report said the following. What? That's all. You're regurgitating news. You're really squeezing this lemon for all the juice that you can. I think this means that the rest of those thousands of documents that Ms. Haugen spent an extra month at Facebook extracting are worthless.
Do you think they're going through it and seeing that it might not be that revelatory, and then now they're kind of backpedaling?
You wouldn't come.
She wrote a big check. I have thousands of documents that are gonna destroy you, Facebook, and they may be totally obvious or already covered.
Okay, it says the classic securities enforcement case usually involves claims that a public company fudged its accounting or other metrics, followed by investors, or failed to disclose key facts that explained its performance. But the SEC can allege disclosures were simply misleading, without having to tie statements to financial trends. This tactic has expanded the type of cases the SEC has brought in recent years. 2 years ago, for instance, Facebook agreed to pay $100 million to the SEC to remove allegations that it didn't disclose the misuse of user data by consulting firm Cambridge Analytica. Facebook settled without admitting or denying the claims. Right. That's normally how these whistleblower things work, is the company did something very mathematically black and white fraudulent with data or with its statements or what have you. And then you get these payments, like this $100 million settlement, and then the whistleblower gets a cut of that. But this case seems quite different. the big reveal, the revelatory whistleblower was that, heaven forbid, a corporation put its profits above its users. Like every corporation does. So, yeah, it's a little confusing how this is going to shake out. One of Ms. Hagen's tips to the SEC does seem to be more squarely in the agency's wheelhouse, Mr. Rosenfeld said. In one complaint, she alleged that Facebook failed to disclose internal data showing a contraction of the user base in an important demographic, including its young adults. Yes, exactly as I said when we read her complaints to the SEC. You remember that? I said, oh, that one right there, that's whistleblowing. That one right there could get them in trouble. And now the Wall Street Journal has a quote from a former SEC chairperson, Mr. Rosenfeld, saying exactly what I said, which is that one right there, that one could get them in trouble. The one where they were not totally transparent about their user base of young users, which is the most important demographic. Other than that one, the rest are bullshit. The rest have nothing to do with it. Saying that a company's greedy? Are you fucking for real? You're gonna do a world tour. You're going over to the UK. You're gonna make a whole career out of claiming that a big tech company, one of the world's biggest tech companies, is greedy.
Wow, so surprised.
Anyway, but the one that I just read about, where they failed to disclose internal data that they had showing a contraction in the user base in American teenagers and young adults, that could get them. I don't know. I'd have to see the real details of that, but that's totally in line with traditional whistleblowing. All the other stuff, and the weird thing is that one revelation has not really been discussed at all by the Wall Street Journal. Of all of the 7 Facebook files headlines that they've done, and now the 3 or 4 where they're recircling and rehashing and regurgitating the first 7, they're not talking about that one. But that's the only one that could really get them in any kind of trouble with the SEC. Okay. So, next up, Nick Clegg, the official spokesperson for Facebook, says they will put more friends and less politics in the news feed and etc. We talked about that yesterday. The New York Times has a new one today saying that internal messages and documents and a Facebook internal question and answer session with Mr. Mark Zuckerberg show that Facebook's attempts to calm staff, including sending out talking points to team members in case they get asked anything by anybody, and holding a briefing session. Yeah, it's called doing damage control. They're a super valuable company. They have a lot to lose. And they realize there's a lot of bloodthirsty journalists with the pitchforks and tiki torches out, screaming burner at the stake. So, you might want to forgive them for being a little precautious and training their team members with talking points and holding a Q&A and having internal messages and documents and briefing sessions. Yeah, I would too. Because the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times has made it abundantly clear. They are on a bloodthirsty rampage, the likes we have never seen before, like this is fucking Watergate or something. So naturally, a publicly traded company is going to try and button down the hatches, try and plug all the holes to stop the zombie apocalypse from invading Facebook headquarters. Because you're not exactly approaching this like traditional journalists. You're approaching this like, what's that word that always escapes me? Activism journalism. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. The next one from CoinDesk. UK Gambling Commission is investigating soccer NFT trading service Sorare for failing to obtain licenses, May. They just had a huge fundraising, did they not?
Yeah, they did. That's really odd. That sounds to be a little bit weird.
Yeah. for failing to obtain licenses.
Especially when there's so many players attached to that. That's a really interesting
Yeah, big names.
commentary because there's a lot of FIFA and UEFA players that are connected to that. So,
well, Sorare has responded by saying, Sorare says it does not offer regulated gambling. Let's check this out. The UK Gambling Commission wrote that Sorare may have to register as a licensed gambling operator. Sorare, the fastest growing European fantasy soccer digital collectible platform, is being investigated by the UK Gambling Commission. And this basically is a very short article. There's 6 very quick points. Number 1, the gambling watchdog of the UK warned in a consumer information notice dated October 8th that Sorare's business operates outside of the gambling regulations that a licensed operator should comply with. Okay. And that consumers are advised to take this into account when deciding whether or not to use the platform. Okay. So you're not a gambling platform, and it's buyer beware. Got it. Number 2, the notice goes on to say that the Gambling Commission is looking into whether Sorare should be required to have a gambling license, or if its services don't actually constitute gambling. Okay, so you're confused. You're going to do a little investigation. You're going to ask your grandkids what they think of it, and then you're going to come back and let us know. Got it. Go ahead. Ask the grandkids what they think, and then we'll keep our ears open. Number 3, while the company doesn't offer any traditional forms of sports gambling, the speculative nature of their digital trading cards, whose values are largely driven by player performance, skirt the line of categorization. Number 4, in its official statement regarding the investigation, Sorare said it is very confident it does not offer any forms of regulated gambling, and that it has confirmed this with legal experts since the company's inception. Sorare added that we will always engage and have open dialogue with authorities who reach out to us to learn more about our game. We believe this is the responsible way to grow our game and community globally. And lastly, the Paris-based NFT giant raised $680 million about a month ago, did they not? That's what May and I were just talking about, maybe 3 weeks ago, at a $4.3 billion valuation. Oh, in September, 1 month ago. End of article. So they've checked with their lawyers. They're not doing what's considered gambling by the definitions of gambling in the UK. So get out. What's your problem? So they're making a decision about how to deal with this new innovation. The UK.
If they are smart enough, they should just go and get a license, because even if they think that they are not going to use it for gambling, people will be using it for gambling anyhow.
That might change their whole business model, which they might not want to do. So the UK Gambling Commission wrote that Sorare may have to register. Soccer NFT is being investigated. Yep. They're asking their grandkids, hey, kids, what the hell is this thing? What are these NFTs, these nifties? What the hell's going on? Why are you buying this crazy shit? And then the regulators, after a nice weekend with the grandkids, are going to figure out what the NFTs are all about to the best of their ability, and then come back and say, let us know sometime, a year from now what they think. Okay. Next up, from the Financial Times, ex-Pentagon software chief Nicholas Challen, who recently resigned, says China is headed for global dominance due to advances in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and other cyber capabilities. And boy, was that one hell of a resignation letter. He was incredibly frustrated with the Department of Defense and the military and how slow they are moving. And he had some very choice words, such as, we have no competing fighting chance against China in 15 to 20 years. Right now, it's already a done deal. It is already over, in my opinion. Adding, there was good reason to be angry. Whether it takes a war or not is kind of anecdotal. And he added the U.S. cyber defenses in some government departments were at kindergarten level. And then he said, where's the last bit? We are setting up critical infrastructure to fail. We would not put a pilot in a cockpit without extensive flight training. Why would we expect someone with no IT training to be close to successful? While we wasted time in bureaucracy, our adversaries moved further ahead.
Tyler, who said this?
The resigning U.S. Chief of Software for the Department of Defense. What's his title? Hold on.
I mean, it's kind of a big deal because we're in cyber war at this point.
And he had some really choice words. And then Bloomberg has a related article, which says, despite fears in the West, China's alleged AI prowess is mostly limited to computer vision, useful for domestic control of citizens, while the U.S. is far broader. And then Mark Scott from... we can ignore that tweet. Okay.
I would ask, how does China know? How does Bloomberg have any clue what China's AI does?
That's a great point. They don't. Well, they probably called them up and asked them, "Hey, are you guys ahead of the U.S. on the? Hey, listen, Xi,
I called up Movie Phone and I asked them about
they could have just asked
AI.
Alexa.
I mean,
Hey,
this
Alexa,
is actually a huge,
is
huge
China ahead of
issue
us?
where we're going with cyber. This is actually pretty. That report's actually pretty big. I'm gonna have to go find that. The first tweet you mentioned there.
It's why I'm on a burner phone,
I
like
know,
all the
Chris.
guys.
Well,
Chris, you're
seriously,
wonderful.
Chris. Chris is on a burner phone that doesn't connect to his home Wi-Fi. I mean, that's pretty serious, right? And if you talk to people, is that this is a huge area, and we're heading into World War III, basically.
It says, on paper, the U.S. and China appear neck and neck in artificial intelligence. China leads in the share of journal citations, helped by the fact that it also publishes more, while the U.S. is far ahead in the more qualitative metric of cited conference papers, according to a recent report compiled by Stanford University. So while the world's most populous country is an AI superpower, investors and China watchers shouldn't put too much stock in the notion that its position is unassailable or that the U.S. is weaker by miscalculating the other's abilities. Both superpowers risk overestimating their adversary's strengths and overcompensating in a way that could lead to a Cold War-style AI arms race. Beijing is headed for world dominance because of its advances in AI, machine learning, and cyber, says Nicholas Chelian, who recently resigned as the chief software officer of the U.S. Air Force after less than 3 years in the job. In fact, China's expertise is somewhat limited in scope. Artificial intelligence encompasses many fields, including machine learning, robotics, natural language processing, and computer vision. The U.S. has a broad toolkit that's deployed across each of these disciplines and used around the world. China, by contrast, excels mostly in computer vision, an area that helps Beijing build out its surveillance state.
Hey Tyler, can you check the hand raise?
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
But I'm wondering, as a public servant, what was his aim in revealing this? I mean, we could all feel a little bit frustrated, especially when we choose to leave a job. But, those claims aren't necessarily helping our positioning. I mean, we've got to
So
bluff a little bit.
sometimes, Lakeisha, that's a really good question. Sometimes a lot of this is going on behind closed doors with this security and this races between the countries, and it's in all of their interests to they don't publicize, or especially in the US, we do not publicize, our government doesn't, where we stand against other entities and what's really going on behind the scenes, because they are trying to handle it via diplomacy versus letting everybody being forthright with what's going on. And historically, what's happening now or to my experience actually, is the U.S. isn't taking the diplomacy nudges from our own government to stop giving China everything or to understand what these threats are. And with cyber in this area, it's not a Cold War, because it's unlike nuclear or anything else where you can see what the other entity has and where the strike came from and you can counter strike. This stuff, you don't know where it's coming from, and things that were either meant to be a strike or were not meant to be a strike can be perceived as the opposite. And so this is actually a whole new paradigm, or a whole new frame wherein they really have to work closely together, or try to ensure that we don't understand something as an attack or a strike in this arena, and so they actually do have a lot of entities working together. But him saying that we're that far behind, I mean, there's also a lot of different entities handling this stuff, and they may not all be working together. I don't know. I'm not with government, but this is a super complicated area, and actually, I think a lot bigger than we're hearing about, and
Captain
that we are.
Burlingame,
Thanks for this. My first time on your stage.
welcome.
I'm a novice in tech, but I've always listened to your room and enjoy it. I am reading, just about finished the book Sandworm, which was shocking to me. I have never heard it discussed on this room, and I wonder how much credence can be given to that book.
Sandworm. I'm not familiar with it, but I'll check it out.
It is I think it was first published in 2019,
Andy
and I think
Greenberg.
it's, yeah, and it's an expose on cyber attacks starting back in the late 90s and accelerating through the current days.
Sandworm, a new era of cyber war and the hunt for the Kremlin's most dangerous hackers. The true
That's
story.
it.
Yeah, it says the true story of the most devastating cyber attack in history and the desperate hunt to identify and track the elite Russian agents behind it. It's from Wired senior writer Andy Greenberg. Washington Post says lays out a chilling detail how future wars will be waged in cyberspace and makes the case that we have done little as of yet to prevent it.
Cool. Just bought that on Amazon.
Okay.
I got it on Amazon. I have it on my Kindle, and I'm about 75% through it.
Alrighty.
It heavy focus on Russia and Ukraine, but it also brings in China and a tremendous hack, evidently, of NSA toolbox several years ago.
Okay.
And Tyler, Sharon Descartes, she's the CSQ. She sends all those fantastic tweets.
Mm-hmm.
She's back channeling me some, and curious if she'd like to come up on stage and speak about what she's been telling me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there she's got her hand up. There we go. CSQ on stage.
Hello.
Welcome, Sharon.
Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to mention there's some validity to saying that the US is far behind on artificial intelligence, deep learning, and AI. The time I spent at Sogang University in Seoul, it was just astronomical to see the advancement the students were making in creative computing. Spatial designs with AI, artificial intelligence, was just out of this world. And I also discovered that they were teaching students this sort of stuff beginning in middle school. So they're extremely advanced, far so than we are. More importantly, their government was spending a great deal of their budget just sort of investing in all of their universities, making sure that they're developing these minds. And I wouldn't say that they're not doing so across industries. They absolutely are. So I think we really need to take this information seriously. We are extremely behind on the curve. When I worked in government, we were about 10 years behind, and we were running a rat race. This technological warfare is true, and we're losing the race, guys.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
The next one. Twitter now lets web users remove followers without having to block them. After testing the option for over a month, all Twitter users can now remove a follower without having to block them. The company, starting today, everyone has access to it. You go to their account, you click on the three dots, and you say bye-bye, and then we're not sure what happens.
That's interesting because like people used to soft block, which is like block and then unblock, so remove the follow, but now it's like the person might not understand that you're making them unfollow them, and then yeah, it's gonna get funny, I'm sure.
You can then mute them and you'll never see or hear from them again. So
Yeah, that's the preferred way. Like muting is so powerful on Twitter.
So the next one is Instagram says it's testing activity feed notifications in the US that will alert users of service outages and technical issues. 1 week after a massive Facebook outage that took all of the social networking apps offline for more than 6 hours, Instagram says it's testing notifications to let people know that the service is having outages and technical issues. So you can see, you can confirm very quickly without having to run away to some other app like Twitter or, heaven forbid, TikTok, which we're really trying to prevent you from going to. So maybe they could give you a countdown that says we'll be back shortly, and just play some interesting, silly videos in the meantime while their servers try and figure out the configuration issues.
Your attention is important to us. You're number 49 in the queue. You have got
Exactly.
6 minutes and 21 seconds till our service is up again.
Your service is very important to us. Please stay on the line. Yeah. The next one is that Microsoft says it mitigated a 2.4 terabit per second denial of service attack on an Azure customer at the end of August, breaking AWS's record of mitigating a 2.3 terabit per second attack in February 2022. So there, AWS, eat our digital dust. Microsoft fended off a big denial of service attack that was just, barely bigger than the one that Amazon dealt with. That's some real geeky news right there. The next one is Magic Leap is somehow back in the news. Boy, have they been out of the news for a very long time.
This story's crazy.
I don't know that we've ever had any news of them here. That's how long they've been out of the news. They used to be in the news a lot when they were getting started. They've raised about $5 billion, and you've never heard of them, right? The vast majority of even geeks have not heard of them. This is a startup working in the augmented reality space, and a lot of the top investors threw ungodly amounts of money on it, and with not a lot to show thus far. And so they're back in the news today because they've raised another $500 million. And they say its second generation AR headset will arrive next year. Let's hope so.
Yeah, they've been strategically cagey for quite some time, but this release is definitely intentional. That pilot, the protocol that they have is extremely cagey because they don't want for people to know what's going on, but they are intending to pull out the prototype. So I expect within the next few months we're going to see a solid product from them.
It's either that or this will go down as the biggest, boondoggle in one of the biggest in Silicon Valley history.
That's funny because it already has in a way, right? And they're sort of back from the dead. They tried to pivot into healthcare and industrial applications, kind of semi-successfully. I guess some people were using them like in operating theaters and surgical and environments, but without a lot of success. I mean, you sell a lot of glasses to surgeons to make this a success. So we'll see. It'll be interesting.
Yep, exactly. The next one is the Tile, the little plastic clip you can put on your keys or your wallet or your camera or whatnot. To find it, revamps its lineup with IP67 water resistance, longer ranges, and safety features to avoid unwanted tracking, to make it more similar to the Apple AirTags, and announces something they call Tile Ultra with ultra wideband support, UWB. So, it says, when Apple's AirTags launched earlier this year, it seemed like Apple had come to eat Tile's lunch. So it's not surprising that Tile's revamping its Bluetooth tracker lineup with some awfully similar features. Yep, just like I said. As well as a new ultra-wideband device called the Tile Ultra. For starters, each tracker in Tile's lineup now comes with water resistance. The Tile Pro has an entirely new design that looks like a key fob. The Tile says this was meant to make it easier to find. Otherwise, its 400-foot Bluetooth range, ringer volume, and 1-year replaceable battery remain the same. Meanwhile, Tiles boosted the range for your other ones up to 250 feet, and given all three are a louder ring and up to 3 years of battery life, and that's all very cool. I happen to and they have photos of the interface that helps guide you towards your device, nearly identical to the AirTag's interface for guiding you while you try to find your AirTag, where you hold your camera, to look around your environment, and it will show you with an arrow to turn left or right or move forward. Move forward 21 feet, move left 24 feet. It's here. You're hot. It's right next to you. You're burning. You're touching lava. So, by the way, this functionality was recently added to the AirPod Pros last week. And on Sunday, just 2 days ago, I went hiking deep into my favorite place in the jungle here in Thailand. And a tropical jungle, like a legit rainforest jungle, and lost one of my AirPod Pros without knowing it because I was next to a massive waterfall where the sound of the waterfall was so loud, I didn't even know if I had my AirPods in or out. It was like deafening waterfall. And because we've had a bit of rain lately.
Oh, you have a waterfall on your island?
Some incredibly huge ones, yeah.
Ooh.
We have big pools, natural pools in the jungles. So we have 3 waterfalls that meet in the same place to form a huge pool in the middle of the jungle near my house where I go swimming regularly. But it's a very loud sound when 3 waterfalls meet together. So I lost my AirPod. I didn't even know it for 30 minutes. And then I thought, oh, that thing's good as gone. Like, there's no way I'm going to find that in a fucking tropical rainforest. Like, forget it. And then I opened the phone. I had installed the newest firmware for the AirPods Pro, and my God, this new interface took me right to and I'm by the way, most importantly, I'm in a place with no cellular signal at all. And it managed to direct me to the AirPod. And I found it.
Where was this about 3 months ago when I lost 2 AirPods?
That's the magic that's Apple. They get really good at providing these life tools, so to speak. Things that you don't think are useful until it happens, and it's so seamless that you kind of it's that delight that they instill on their products that really get you sticky, right? That not
They're not
delightful,
so
Tyler?
glamorous, right, Chris? I mean,
Was
they're
that
not like
yeah?
they're not glamorous. It's not things you'd advertise. It
Yeah.
just
But
it just
wasn't that just so delightful, Tyler? Like
I couldn't
delight.
believe it. I could not believe it.
That means Apple will have the location of all the users of all airports, right? Thank you.
No, I couldn't find
The
mine by
data source.
location. I have lost two, and I bought one yesterday. Thank goodness it was on sale, like $100 off of the Pro. So good pricing right now.
Tyler, how
And
did you feel whenever you found it? Right, that which was lost was then found. Is
I,
it not just almost you would want to lose it so you can have that feeling sometimes? No.
I just couldn't believe it because I'm walking through the jungle. I'm not even on a trail. I'm literally trekking through untrailed jungle.
That is impressive.
So,
With a machete?
yeah, sometimes you do.
and
Yeah.
then, folks, guys, if you lose one, there's a replacement program where you don't pay full price for the replacement one.
And so, next article.
This is a good news, right? For example, for those hikers who went hiking and then get lost in the jungle, I'm sure there's a way to track them down now with all these people having all these, like airports or
No,
whatever.
Cheryl, I got lost in a jungle for 4 hours one time. My phone wasn't working, and nobody was able to track me for 4 hours. It didn't work. There was no signal.
Yeah, this works by Bluetooth, so you have to be within like
A certain range.
150
Yeah, in
meters
the range.
of the device for the Bluetooth to even know that you're in some kind of range of the device to detect the device. So The next one is from Harry McCracken from Fast Company, who you might recall is one of those old school legit geeks who's been doing this from the beginning. And he says in a Q&A with Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, Thomas Kurian, and other Google executives on Google Cloud's new sustainability features, which help customers track emissions and more. More companies are so. Congrats to Harry for getting an interview with the Google CEO on their new announcements that we read last week, where they allow you to find the most fuel efficient way to drive your car from A to B rather than the fastest way, and things like that. Very cool. The next one from Bloomberg. They say they have sources that China is expanding its anti-monopoly bureau, increasing its headcount from over 40 to 100 as its year-long crackdown on monopolies continues. Makes sense. That seems to be a lot of the headlines we've been reading over the past 3 months has been exactly that. China cracking down on monopolies. Most recently, Meituan, but Alibaba and a whole bunch of others. That's been a very busy office over there. The next one from a Nigerian startup named Mono, which is building open banking tools for businesses, raises $15 million, led by Tiger Global. And the next one's from Bloomberg. It says Facebook says it will stop linking Facebook and Instagram accounts behind the scenes for advertising purposes due to privacy and regulatory changes. And then Politico, and I bet it's my buddy Mark, says draft EU Commission proposals set to be unveiled on November 23 could compel Google and Facebook to share data on how political groups target ads or face fines. Social media companies could face hefty fines if they don't publish detailed information on political ad buyers, according to an EU internal document. Well, that could be cool, because we want to know who's buying political ads, as Russia was doing. And that would have been nice to have known. This ad paid for by Big Daddy Vladdy as a whole bunch of red state political ads. Wouldn't that have been interesting? Facebook knew that these ads were paid for by the Kremlin, and they were influencing American elections in 2016. And what would happen if Trump supporters saw this ad paid for by Mr. Vladimir Putin? Facebook and Google will have to provide reams of detailed information on how political groups target people via online ads or face steep fines, according to an EU Commission draft proposal seen by Politico. The proposals, which the Commission is expected to unveil November 23, aim to protect elections from undisclosed political ads, like America had in 2016. Oh, that would have been nice. Stop political parties from misusing social media and combat the manipulation of voters through micro-targeting, the practice at the heart of the Cambridge Analytica scandal in 2018. Brussels wants to boost transparency around online political ads by forcing partisan groups and the world's largest platforms to disclose more information about who is buying ads and the types of people they are targeting. Hey, well, by the way, it was now revealed that I don't even want to open that can of worms. These changes, it argues, could stop European Union elections from falling victim to underhanded political tactics and allow voters to understand who is peppering them with political messaging. Great idea. I love that idea. Does anyone not like that idea? Because American TV, we do this for the most part, right? Like this ad paid for by the such and such, or the endorsement of the ads. I'm Senator so and so, and I endorse this message. Why not bring that to online? That makes all the sense in the world.
That does make a ton of sense, Tyler.
Transparent. Yep. Okay.
It does, and I wonder how long before people just start setting up shell accounts, right, or shell businesses, so that we still don't know the originator of the funds.
This ad brought to you by Uncle Bobby's Barbecue,
That's right. Sweet and juicy.
aka
By Amazon.
President Putin. Okay, next one from The Verge. Fairphone 4 review. Well, it was announced last week that the Fairphone 4 was coming out, and now The Verge has done a review of this very interesting phone. They call it the Fairphone because the whole idea is they've designed it to have basically the same bells and whistles as any smartphone these days. However, it's also designed to be very easily repairable and upgradable per on each individual module, if you will. So if you want to upgrade the camera, you can. If you want to upgrade the battery, you can. You want to upgrade the screen? Knock yourself out, cowboy. And you can do that to your heart's content. Each year, each week, as better cameras and need better batteries and better screens come out. Why
That
buy
sounds
a
like a
whole new
direct attack to
phone just
Apple.
to upgrade the camera?
Well, that knocks Apple right out the competition there.
It's quite interesting. And if more people went into that space, and if there's competitors to the Fairphone and a whole bunch of people start buying that and adopting that, that really could put a whole lot of heat on Apple for sure. The downside, of course, is it will almost certainly have to run Android. But this also could give people potentially more sense of security, that they feel more control of their phones. And now that Apple, in recent days, in fact, to a quite an interesting extent here in Clubhouse, it's the whole Apple's recent claims in recent years of that they're about privacy, and that people pay a premium for Apple phones because they have some perceived benefit of privacy. That turns out to be a whole bunch of hogwash. So why am I paying an extra 50% for this phone that you claim had better privacy that now it appears it might not? So that this Fairphone could, the timing is quite opportunistic. Okay, next one. Canva, which for those who don't know, does anyone not know what Canva? Who does know what Canva is?
I
I
love
know.
it.
If you don't
Yeah.
know, I'm gonna do a partnership with them to be a sponsor for a week, and then we can collect all the commissions on everyone signing up for Canva Pro.
Wow, cool.
Canva is the new Photoshop. Simple as that. It's easier than way easier than Photoshop. In many ways, in some cases more powerful, in most cases not. But in the ways that you probably want it to be, it probably is. In fact, I made the logo for Tech News Around the World in Canva.
Me too. I make the Today's Startup logo in Canva.
Yeah,
Very easy to use.
fantastic. Super simple, very powerful, a delight to use. And if you
Yes.
haven't signed up, don't sign up now. I'm going to go ahead and go get an affiliate code for you to sign up. and that will be our first unofficial sponsor. So Canva announces today something they call Canva Video, a suite of video editing tools available as part of its free tier. Holy smokies. Why is that interesting? Because Photoshop is by a company called Adobe. Adobe kind of started with Photoshop, and then it got into Adobe Illustrator and then Adobe Premiere. And Adobe Premiere is video editing, and it's a very popular video editor, although it probably could be a lot easier and whatever. So Canva going into Canva Video, they might do to video where they might do to Adobe Premiere what Canva did to Adobe Photoshop. And that would be very interesting.
And
And
then
you
it's
know
all
what?
web based too.
Yeah, and it's not
That's
just
actually
about
interesting.
the,
Mm.
the company, right? I mean, I'm thinking about all of the graphic designers, over the years that I've had to turn to because I could never fill out or I could never figure out Adobe and so or Photoshop. And so, to be able to sit at your desk and point and click and make the changes that you want to see. I think it's gonna put a lot of people into different jobs.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And Tyler, imagine if they actually had an offering workplace where you could hire people that used Canva to do gigs for you too. I mean, that would be like the all-in-one solution.
Yeah, especially if they see you struggling. Well, the first step would be they use AIs to recognize that you're struggling, and then they could direct you to a video related to the struggle you're having. And then if you're still, or you can pay somebody to connect with, Raul down here in Argentina is
Yeah,
on standby to,
it's kind of anti what Canva is trying to do, right? They're trying to
well,
educate you on how to do it yourself, but
And there are many templates there for you to choose from. So easy.
so then I want to see what Canva video is all about. I just can't. This is like, I feel like a kid on Christmas.
I
I gotta
can't wait.
I gotta
likely
open
a
this thing up.
creator
What the hell they got going on over here? Canva
You can
video.
add
likely a
music
creator
to
can
it.
Yeah, I'm
create
trying to
templates
look at it as well.
and
Like,
monetize
I
those.
use Premiere like quite frequently, especially for YouTube videos as well, and just for the industry workflow in cinema and stuff like that. So, looking at Canva video right now, I'm gonna see everything that I can find. But if they make video editing easier, or if it's just like click and drop, just like iMovies, then it's a whole different kettle of fish because you still need motion graphics, you still need all of these other things and wipes that make something look glossy, for lack of a better term. So yeah, there's definitely a distinction from something that you can see is made cheaply in respect, but then something that's made by an industry professional, just like how you have Squarespace websites, but then you know a website that was made by a developer in Webflow or something else or coded.
I'm looking at a photo of it. It looks really cool. It's looking pretty nifty.
You can use it to make your resorts video.
Like Cheryl, you're a genius. So the next one is from the Wall Street Journal. That DoorDash introduces an ad platform. This gets interesting. Letting restaurants buy ads atop search results through a bidding system. So you want to be the top restaurant? You want people to see your restaurant first? This is what Google did. This is what Facebook did.
Oh my
Discovery.
God, that's
Yeah,
huge.
this is amazing.
This is what
Oh
every
my God.
platform does when they get a bunch of lock in and they get a little.
I use DoorDash, and there's so many choices. It's really hard to even know. Like in the old days, pre-COVID, there might be a few restaurants, but now like every restaurant's on DoorDash, so that's going to just be a killer app.
Well, this
And
could,
as a 100% remote country, we're just going to use DoorDash as like our perk.
but this could be really interesting because DoorDash is under heat for charging too much on their traditional business model of taking too high of a commission from the restaurants. And now they have a whole other revenue stream, so they could lower their commissions and be compliant with the New York City, who's forcing them, and San Francisco are both forcing them to lower their commissions. And now they've got a whole new revenue stream of an ad network to make up for that lost revenue. So fine, yeah, we can do 15% commissions, no problem. You want to have your restaurant seen? Sure. You just pay us an extra, $5 every time somebody clicks to make an order.
Tyler
Yes.
or Jay? I mean, I'm thinking about Food Panda. Jay, I would imagine that you do some comparison shopping, but whenever I open up the Food Panda app, there are restaurants that pop up, and I wonder whether this is something similar or will those ads on DoorDash be, a completely different model? And Tyler, you probably don't use Food Panda on your remote island, and
Well,
Jay may
I
not want
did
to admit to
when
it,
that.
but
How do you think I got that Starbucks over to you in the boat?
that's right, but it didn't quite get to you. we'll never live this down.
I
But
don't.
yeah, but when I open the app, there are probably 4 or 5 restaurants that come up on the home screen, or they pop up before I click to the home screen. I have to close it out. And they have this gamified, you've got 12 minutes to decide between these 5 restaurants to, get 100 baht off. But yeah, so I'm just curious about the model that Food Panda is using here in Asia.
I think everyone's slowly using the same model, to be honest. I think Grab's also looking at Grab ads, so don't be surprised if we there's something very similar that starts happening on ads.
Yep.
I think DoorDash is going that in the same route as well.
Yep.
Everyone's copying Asia pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks for that,
Yeah,
Jeff.
and everything.
Okay. Next up, Patreon back in the news. I haven't heard Patreon in the news in quite a while. Patreon's Memberful, which helps manage subscriptions, debuts a newsletter feature that takes a 4.9% cut, plus $25 a month or $100 a month, depending on the pricing plan. So Patreon's getting into the newsletter game, just like Twitter's Review and Substack, and oh golly, is there quite a few players in this space now. But interesting to see that Patreon is also in the... Makes sense. Yeah, that's a natural extension of their offerings. Same commission as Twitter's Review, as it's called. Although Twitter lets you now see, if you are using Review, it lets you say, subscribe to my newsletter and above your top pinned tweet and below your bio in a really interesting way so all your followers can see it.
And you'll be able to pay for premium review via Twitter soon.
Say that again, Evan. Pay, what is it?
If you offer a premium paid newsletter, you'll be able to click to buy through Twitter
Oh,
to
right.
pay
Yeah, you
as
can
well.
buy directly. You can pay for this newsletter subscription directly in Twitter. Exactly. Because they have a bank in the back end called Square. So that's kind of interesting. Patreon getting into the paid newsletter game. So the next one.
Tyler.
Yes.
Sweat Breeze is here. You wanted to ask her about Twitch, right?
Right. What do you remember?
Emma.
What there was an article today about Twitch and about
The average age of the user we wanted to
yes,
know,
we were
right?
hoping you might know the average age of the users. Aaron actually found some of that data. And let me just read you what he found real fast here. He said he found this data source that 70% of Twitch viewers are between the ages of 16 and 34. Makes sense. But then also that 1% of the Twitchers, streamers, make half the revenue, and that the top 100 make almost half the revenue.
Yes, I can. I've heard a little bit of different. Twitch is not very good at. They don't like to give out information, not as much as YouTube and other people. At least not statistics. But I'm pretty sure that I've heard Twitch many times say that the majority of Twitch viewers are actually millennials. Now, if that is true or not, but they're definitely not kids. That's for sure. So, I mean, I think the majority of my viewers, I mean, it's not that many that is below the age of 16, definitely not. I think that's more common to YouTube and, well, depending on what content you do also, of course, but it's more common to YouTube and TikTok, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's a lot of information, but a lot of, it all says different things. And whenever I try to talk to Twitch about it, I also hear different things. So some people say it's mostly millennials. Other people say it's between 20 and 30, that's like half millennials, half what is it? Generation C. When does that is like 23 that the border is, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure exactly where Generation C starts and where millennial ends, but somewhere around there.
Okay.
Was it around the leak or
Say
the
again?
article? Was it around leak of Twitch? The article, I mean. There was a big leak on Twitch just a few
Yes,
days ago.
that was the data that was leaked was the source of the article. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been. I mean, it is
And
it's insane everything that's been going
yeah,
on Twitch the last couple of days, honestly. But
and the,
is it sure that this is a leak or is it a hack? That is
Yes.
something I've been trying to find out.
You
But
could call it a hack. Yeah.
I
so
think
someone else hacked it. It was
Yes.
they say Twitch is open source now because their source code is exposed.
So
But how
yeah,
about Seth, please?
exactly.
How
But
about
I heard it
your
wasn't very
information?
good. So
Yeah, how about your information? Is it all disclosed
oh,
and made
sorry,
public?
come
How about
again.
your own information? Did they actually send you anything to remind you about your own information? Because you're
It's
on
only
Twitch,
the
right?
information from 2000. Well, all information is actually disclosed. So if anyone here have an account on Twitch, you should absolutely change the passwords if you haven't already. But with that said, it was only the information from 2019. So I was, and I think the one that was leaked was the X amount of like the biggest, and it's mostly American streamers. I mean, here in Sweden also, like the government takes a huge chunk of the money. So yeah, American streamers are definitely the ones that makes the top dollars, or the people that move to Malta. A lot of them move to Malta.
okay. Next up.
Tyler, I want to go back to DoorDash for a minute and
Sure.
remind you that Google has said they're going to ban third-party cookies, which means that a lot of advertisers are going to have and are already having problems targeting their audiences.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a perfect opportunity for a platform like
Yeah.
DoorDash,
Great point.
to start an advertising platform, because it now can target the people that the restaurants really want. And I think I see this happening a lot. We're going to see, I'm just guessing, but we're going to see a renaissance of what we used to call trade magazines, which are targeted publications for people actually in the market for something. And it's a tremendous advertising opportunity since third party cookies are no longer available.
I agree. It's a
I
great
just
point.
wanted to chime in. I just asked a friend of mine that works on Twitch, and he also said millennials as the biggest. But I mean that's a wide age group. But millennials is the biggest viewer base on Twitch.
Okay. Here we go. Next up is Celsius Network, a decentralized finance lending platform that uses the Ethereum blockchain, raises 400 million at a 3 billion valuation, up from 120 million last year. That's triple unicorn in a year. Dear God. So this is interesting because the SEC is trying to stop and has stopped Coinbase from doing exactly this. Coin lending, crypto lending. They said you can't do that. They wanted to create a whole new product called Lend. The SEC says you do that, we will sue you. And they said, WTF, bro? Everyone else is doing it. And here's a company doing it. DeFi lending platform that uses Ethereum blockchain. So the next one is Binance. Haven't heard that name in the news for a week. Launches. Well, by the way, Amay, did not last time we heard Binance was about 3 weeks ago, and they said they were going to be announcing a big fundraising soon. Did they not? And where is that fundraising, CZ? We told you that was bullshit. We knew that smelled like grade A premium USDA choice bullshit. And sure enough,
That's bullshit.
it has not been announced. Where is it, CZ? Holler at your boy. Where's that fundraising announcement you said was coming? But Binance is back in the news. Bloomberg reports that they launched a $1 billion fund to support projects on its smart chain blockchain, on its smart chain blockchain, or on its smart chain blockchain, with around 500 million going to gaming, VR, and financial services. Sounds like they're starting to think about pivot. They're shifting a little focus away from their emphasis on being an exchange. That's what I think. I think because that's not going to turn out so good for them. They're feeling the heat. The next one's from TechCrunch. Plume, which develops an AI-powered adaptive home Wi-Fi
But
mesh.
let's go look at our holdings.
Oh, Ken has your mic open. There we go. Just muting a couple mics here. Okay. Plume, which develops an AI-powered adaptive home Wi-Fi mesh network system, raises $300 million by SoftBank Vision Fund at a $2.6 billion valuation. Because those Wi-Fi networks, they collect a lot of data, y'all. Like a whole lot of data, like all the data. The next one, Israeli AI chip maker raises 136 million at $1 billion. Okay. Bangalore-based neobank called Open, which offers tools to small and medium businesses, raises 100 million. Sources say at a 500 million valuation, with Google joining the investors on that one. And what else here? Hubilo, which helps businesses host virtual and hybrid events with real-time analytics, raises 125 million. And the Wall Street Journal reporting how autonomous trains, likely easier to deploy than autonomous vehicles, could help unclog America's congested supply chains and offer a greener alternative. And you know what? They might be onto something, because today, just a few hours ago, the city of Hamburg revealed their first autonomous train working on the streets of Hamburg. So you might be onto something there, Wall Street Journal. The next one is Munich-based Personio, maker of cloud-based HR and recruitment software for small and medium businesses, raises $270 million at a $6.3 billion valuation. Jesus Christ. For a HR, well, recruiting is a big space. Yeah. Protocol says they have sources that HTC Vive's Flow VR headset, to be released on Thursday, will feature 6 degrees of freedom tracking and is mostly for content consumption and casual gaming. The information says they have sources that Tiger Global and K2 are co-leading a $400 million round for a cryptocurrency payment startup called MoonPay at a $3.4 billion valuation. Its first VC funding. Holy shit! That is a record, a world record A round right there. $400 million first fundraising. That's incredible.
Dr. Danish and I are just here kind of like we're like looking at each other like uh
What is that? What the hell's going
uh
on? In an email to employees at Amazon, Amazon boss Andy Jassy says that Amazon will leave remote work decisions to the team leaders instead of having everyone return in January. So if you want to know if you need to return, ask your team leader.
Oh no.
And if he doesn't give you the answer you like, go find another team.
Seems like the right
Easier
solution to
said
me.
than done.
It's going to be interesting because the teams who want more talent are going to let you work remotely, and they're going to start poaching from the other teams, saying, "Oh, are you on a team that's forced to go back to the office? That's terrible. So sorry to hear that."
Recruitment
even
money.
board members, if you're trying to attract board members, a lot of them are like, does it have to be in person or can it be remote?
That's true too. The next one is from The Atlantic. How influencer organized campaigns are succeeding at shaping public perception via messaging that is amplified by social network algorithms. That's what we call going viral. So the Atlantic is doing a piece on how influencers are creating campaigns that go viral to influence public perception. Some might call that propaganda, but propaganda is more characteristic of top down from the state, where the powers that be are creating and crafting a narrative and pushing it down on the people. This is kind of the reciprocal, where it's the grassroots people want to make a grassroots narrative. That's not typically thought of as propaganda. So they've come up with a new word for it called amplaganda, amplifying propaganda. And it's a whole piece
That
on
almost sounds worse.
it, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, because it's all paid, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what the point was. That ultimately those same state actors can hire PR firms, and those PR firms can then pay these influencers, and the influencers will say whatever they paid to say. And
Correct.
I think that, and I think that's like way more dangerous because it's obviating, it's obfuscating the state actors completely.
Well, people always talk about influencers like it's like they're just like we're just doing what we're
Gospel.
told. I mean, we all have a brand. We all are run our own companies, and just like with any other companies, like you have to do things with with the ethics. And I mean, we still have business ethics, most of us at least. So it's not just like we are kids getting paid to just do or say whatever. I would never, like, honestly, I say 85% of every offer I get, I decline because of that reason. Of course, there's people that don't, but I mean, there's Amazon and other big companies that don't really do ethical things too.
I
So
will
I'm
push
just
back
saying
a
we're
little
Maybe
also
in
bit.
human beings.
Sweden it's like that, but I don't know about England or American people that I follow. Like,
Yeah, and I think for I think I mean, you would know a lot more than I would, but I think that like like Demolay was saying, I think here with multi-level marketing schemes, which are sort of glorified pyramid schemes, we've seen that it's not so hard to buy influencer time and support. A lot of there's just so many, and especially when you think about micro influencers who don't have the ability to say no as often because they may not get as many offers. And those micro influencers have a much closer knit group of people that follow them. And the data even shows that micro influencers tend to have more influence.
Absolutely, I agree with
100%.
that.
Their reach is far wide.
I also have to say that something that a lot of influencers and even friends of mine don't do is they I think even as an influencer, especially as an influencer, or same when you're a big company, you also have some kind of responsibility over what kind of what you're influencing, right? What you're telling people, and I think many times people don't. They like to pretend they don't have a responsibility, but that is something I think should be important to take into account. But like you said, there's definitely not everyone that thinks like that.
Okay.
Hopefully most people do.
So the next one's the Wall Street Journal one about the analysis of the leaked data from 4.9 million Twitch accounts. The top 1% of streamers made over half the money paid out in 2021. 75% of Twitch streamers made under $120. And Facebook adds Audio Hub to its app in the US, featuring podcasts, live audio rooms, aka their Clubhouse clone, and short form audio, and rolls out live audio rooms globally. And that, my friends, is the big boring headlines today, Tuesday, October 12th, before we get into the fun tweets we've all been waiting for. Like this first one from Aaron, where he found that Citizens Advice released a report on the buy now, pay later space, and the numbers won't surprise anyone. Well, maybe they will, and it might be a chance to play our favorite game. Let's find out. Buy now, pay later's by the numbers. How many people have used buy now, pay later in the last 12 months? Aaron, is this globally? Yeah, it must be. Yeah. How many people have used a buy now, pay later in the past 12 months? Oh, let's restart the clock.
100 million.
250 M's?
350 million.
Yeah, this can't be globally.
Wait, so it's not buy now, pay
No, this
later?
is, I'm sorry, this is in the UK.
Oh,
All
okay,
right.
Oh,
so
Okay.
80
uh,
10
million.
million.
yeah, more like 8, 10.
Eight.
I can see that because it's not very big out here that I know of,
Oh,
anyways.
14 million.
England or UK?
I'll go
UK
with
has more
12.
than one.
Yeah.
I
UK
don't even know how much is the population.
UK is about 65 million, and they're saying 14 million
30?
people have in the past 12
See, I
months.
14.
said
Yeah,
12. I
that's
was
me.
Yeah,
There
closest.
it
someone said
Ha!
12.
13. I got it.
About
Yeah,
20%.
I
Dave.
got it.
yeah, about 20%. That sounds about right to
And
me.
worth noting that the UK is a bit behind. I mean, they're way behind
Very
Scandinavia
behind.
on
Oh my
that one.
days.
And on average, people who use buy now pay later are paying for 2 products at a time and are paying back £63 per month. The main reasons people use buy now pay later are, what's the number one reason that people use
Fashion,
buy now pay later in the UK?
I would say clothes.
Electronic.
No, the reason. Why are they
Oh,
Because
the
using it?
reason.
their cash flow.
Lack of liquidity.
Hmm, reason.
They want the free T-shirt.
Taxes.
To get the card, maybe.
25% say not being able to afford the item otherwise, right?
Liquidity.
That's liquidity. More, 29% say because it's easy to use. It's a very easy way to check out, easier than pulling out your credit card. And even more people, 31%, say to delay payments. And the most, 45%, say to spread payments.
Yeah.
And then it says 26% have regretted using buy now, pay later.
You see?
Because of the
But
brutal
they,
Because it
APR.
becomes more expensive over time. That's why.
Yeah,
and,
it's
and,
like
and, and they
have.
do know that they have to pay anyhow, right? Sooner or later.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not free.
like
That's the downside to buy now, pay later is they don't give you the
The,
shit for free. That's the real
the
I
thing,
the
wanna
catch.
say just
Nothing
on
is
the
free.
ethic in England, like, and I saw a lot of this even from 10 years ago when I was in uni and stuff like that. It was like people would have cards and buy multiple things at once, and then they'll have this big bill. I think I forgot the name of the company now, but they would have 5 items running across 5 months, and it was not going well for them at all. And now people buy luxury items or whatever it may have you, and they don't understand that you're going to have to pay. And it's not
Yeah,
like a normal credit card. It
it's
takes the money. So now you're
it's
in overdraft.
it's not good
it's
for
also
people with poor impulses, right? So people
Yeah.
that do a lot of impulse
Well, there's
buying,
another
there's a lot of
angle here.
remorse that
it's the
comes with
slot
that.
machine nature of the approval process too.
Yeah.
Like when you buy it, you don't know if you're going to get it, and when you get it, oh my goodness, you're happy.
One more point.
It does.
One more related point. Some significant percentage of people are using it without even realizing they're using it. And that's the next question for Tech News Jeopardy. What percentage of people have used buy now, pay later in the last year and have done so without even realizing it?
31%.
I'd say about
12%.
8%.
12%.
28.
40%.
Yeah. I think it's between
Does this
30 and
include
40.
children?
Dave wins it with 40%.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's pretty
Wow.
significant.
Yeah, like I feel like the apps are so weird out here. Oh wait, there's a. But yeah, I feel like the apps are so weird out here when it comes down to that because you can actually click on the option, right? And just a little story. I was like on Savage X20 for reasons. For Savage X20. Anyways, there was a way that if I wanted to buy an item, I would have to do it for on the spread cost thing, and you'd have to sign in and do all of these other things and get the VIP whatever it is. And these apps, they don't, like, Britain is just so behind on tech in general that when people look at it they just kind of buy. And especially on Amazon, when we've got this quick buy now feature, and especially on all of our cards now, it's just you're never going to see it unless you actually intently do it for that reason. So yeah.
Okay, here we go. Next up is from Verdayan Sharma, who joins us from the audience. This one from Economic Times of India. India weighs a rethink on safe harbor rules for social media firms. Oh boy, that could get very messy in India. That could make life very difficult for the big American tech platforms. The next one
Safe
also.
harbor, Tyler, is like the statement that's normally before the results are issued, or
Safe
like
harbor
just
means you're a platform. You're not responsible for the stuff on your platform. So, for example, YouTube isn't responsible if somebody uploads an illegal video. And the best example of that would be if somebody uploads a copyrighted piece of content to YouTube. YouTube's not legally responsible.
okay, hence they're in a safe harbor themselves.
Yes,
Got it.
that's the classic example. So the next one from Maurer sends this one in, also from Economic Times of India, that Reliance, the big mega conglomerate of India, buys REC Solar for $771 million. The purchase of the Norwegian solar panel maker by the conglomerate Reliance New Energy. That's quite a big deal. Could make a whole lot of solar panels in India. That would be fantastic. The next one is from Kinsha, who sends this one in, that Ethereum's co-founder, Vitalik, slams El Salvador's Bitcoin adoption process. Oh, are you a little bitter there? A little bitter that they're using the Bitcoin down there in El Salvador? Ethereum is the second largest cryptocurrency in the world by market cap, standing only next to Bitcoin. But let's click on this link to see what kind of choice words Mr. Buterin had for El Salvador. El Salvador officially adopted Bitcoin in September. However, the move by El Salvador has garnered some criticism from Ethereum's co-founder Vitalik Buterin. El Salvador's president has reportedly forced companies to accept Bitcoin after officially adopting the cryptocurrency as legal tender. Yeah, he's forcing everyone to use it. And he's not only is he forcing them, he's paying them $30 to install the wallet. This move has been criticized by Buterin as it seems to be driven by Bitcoin maximalist tendencies. Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. It's all about Bitcoin and nothing else. Buterin expressed his anger in a Reddit discussion where he shared his comment in response to a post by another user. Buterin wrote, "Making it mandatory for businesses to accept a specific cryptocurrency is contrary to the ideals of freedom that are supposed to be so important to the crypto space." Yes, true. However, he's not perceiving it in the same context. He's perceiving it as an actual currency, which means everyone does have to accept it. Do you see the problem? That's the whole point of making it a currency. Everyone has to accept it. Are you upset that a state has adopted a cryptocurrency as an actual currency? I don't think you are. I think you're upset that it wasn't Ethereum and then that it was Bitcoin. I don't think you'd be complaining if he had required everyone in El Salvador to use Ethereum. Call me crazy.
They need to adopt the Scandinavian mindset, right? Basically,
Kind of.
your competitor, actually your collaborator, if you have the same goals. I mean, we deal with that in our side. I run into some competitors. I'm like, you know what? We actually should work together because you guys do something others can't, and we do too.
Yep. So the next one is from Simon, who joins us from South Africa. And he found this one that Spotify will, it says, why Spotify is turning its attention to Africa is the article. And Simon says Spotify will first win over the telecommunications company that equate to banks, is his prediction. But let's take a looky at this article to find out why Spotify is now focused on Africa. And I think it's because they pretty much focused on everywhere else. It's pretty much the last frontier. And it says Africa, with its internationally recognized musical talent and growing mobile phone use, is central to Swedish music streamer Spotify's plans to extend its reach to 1 billion customers. As African artists are streamed across the world, the continent was seen as an obvious choice and is home to more than a third of the company's 85 new markets. Right, because there's a lot of countries and you're counting each country as a market. Africa does have a whole bunch of countries. How many countries in Africa?
Is it
6 or
54?
something.
54.
Okay.
Yes, so yeah, it would make
And
sense.
each with their own unique style, which would definitely lend to more TikTok videos. This is genius. It's perfect.
The problem is payment on the continent where many people are more likely to have a mobile phone than a bank account. That means Spotify's first task as it implements a plan announced in February to almost double its footprint, is to win over the telecommunication companies that often equate to banks. Spotify's head of music for sub-Saharan Africa said the company secured alternative payment methods, namely M-Pesa, when it moved into Kenya in February. Owned by Kenya's biggest telecoms operator, Safaricom, M-Pesa is used to send money, save, borrow, and make payments for goods and services. Here's the quote: "A lot of African countries are unbanked, so that means they don't use credit cards, and this is very true of a lot of East African countries, and in Kenya, you use M-Pesa for the most part. Elsewhere in Africa, Spotify is seeking other collaborations. We are having conversations with the right partners to ensure that we are providing solutions to payment problems that several African consumers face in different parts of the continent." A Spotify premium user based in Kenya said she prefers M-Pesa rather than a bank card because she thinks mobile money has made music more accessible. Most of us have access to our phones, but not many of us have cards or bank accounts, the 31-year-old said.
Can I chime?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's a huge
Yeah,
access problem.
Yeah, I was gonna
everything
say
is
that first. Let's be aware that this is not the first attempt by a music company. There's Boomplay by the Transient Group that has, I think, 30 million active users across the continent. It's called Boomplay. I have it on my phone. Has a ton of African artists. So as far as local regional content, they're definitely ahead. Um, there's another startup called Mdundo. I think Messi brought them up one time when she was in the room, which is like a Kenyan origin startup that has tried to partner directly with telcos. I think we had a discussion about around how that, so telco balance with a startup is not quite a good relationship for as far as keeping the proceeds and all your hard work. So the telcos tend to take quite high amount of transaction fees to integrate. And then separately with M-Pesa, yes, the others have tried to do that as well, but there's a difference between using a card and M-Pesa, which is your ability to do recurring payments. You can't do recurring payments with M-Pesa, and as you know, Spotify and some of these services, they typically charge per month, and they kind of rely on you to be able to kind of just roll your payments month to month and subscribe with that option. Even multiple options if it's like a quarterly or yearly or monthly. So I think M-Pesa, whilst it's more accessible to most Africans, mobile money in general, it has some inherent structural or just technical issues around the API that allow you to get the same kind of business model as the rest of the world around subscriptions to music. So I actually feel that the winner here will be someone who tries something different. Maybe take a cue from how things are going on in China or gaming or other sectors. I don't know that the business model will be exactly the same in Africa for Spotify or any music player, because it's super hard to monetize. That's the one thing that's I mean, it's true globally, but in Africa it's even harder to monetize music.
But Juana, what about what's your views on the whole Bitcoin scene in Africa and being a solution to some of this stuff as a payment rail?
Yeah, it's another. I mean, there's Bitcoin, there's M-Pesa. People do have cards, right? As I mentioned, people don't necessarily choose to use cards. There is a growing Bitcoin scene, and that would be potentially better. I don't know how if Bitcoin is useful for doing recurring payments for Spotify. I think most people wouldn't use Bitcoin for that. They would use it. They would hoard it and use it for saving. So it's not really a payment rails in that way. So I don't see it being used in that manner, unless maybe it's a debit card tied to a crypto fintech neobank of some sort. I can imagine that being really useful. And there are a number of fintechs that are trying to bridge into crypto as well as provide traditional payment rails. So I can see that working. But like most of the world, it's hodl. Get your Bitcoin, save it, and not necessarily use it to pay for stuff. The only exception I've seen is maybe some B2B cross border payments that sometimes is Bitcoin is used because it's just more efficient than Swift. But for buying like a $5-10 subscription of Spotify, I don't think Bitcoin will be used directly. But yeah, but who knows? We'll see.
Okay. Then Simon sent in another one while we're on Africa. It says Africa's first on-demand expertise platform launches called InBiex, the process. So I just tweeted that out as well. And then the next one comes from Dr. Fran From the Daily Mail in the UK, the headline reads, China moves to ban news publishers not funded by the Communist Party. Bye-bye, South China Morning Post. I told you your days were numbered. Did I not, Chris? Cheryl, did I not say the South China Morning Post is begging?
Yeah, they were toast. They're toast.
The draft law would ban all private investment in any company involved in news gathering, editing, and broadcasting within China. You know, like the South China Morning Post, owned by Alibaba, that often writes critical articles. I knew that couldn't last for much longer. I've said it multiple times in this room, have I not? And I said
I
in the last couple of days, I don't think they're going to be around much longer. And boy, oh
and
boy,
I
this does not
and I
look good.
think Weibo too, the Chinese version of Twitter. I think the government is also going to have direct investment and control into that
Weibo.
social media. Weibo, yeah.
China has
They're going to.
proposed banning all private investment in news gathering companies. Law would mean all newspapers have to be funded by the Communist Party. It is just the latest crackdown on business in China after the tech sector was hit. The government is making sure that it controls its message, one expert said. Well, yes, you were having a financial collapse and you were very worried that people would rush on the banks and exacerbate the problems, and you made it illegal to consume and even publish negative financial news. Truly remarkable. That was about 2 weeks ago. And we had a video interview of multiple individuals on the ground. And people on the ground were being confronted by police. And it turned out that it was due to an app on their phone that they were told they had to install if they want to rent an apartment or join a gym and such. And this app was being promoted as a way to stop hacks and vulnerabilities. And yet what it really was a way to collect all your data. And they knew which content you were consuming. And if you were consuming content that gave negative news about the financial state of affairs in China, well, that would earn you a nice little visit from the CCP members to have a nice little tea chat. And so people started deleting the app. And now,
Pop on over just for a lovely cup of tea, just to have a chat about some
Like
stuff.
you, like you call them, Dave, the big heavies. Six
Yeah,
big heavies show up at your house.
those Twitter six big heavies that went into India. Yeah, it's fascinating, Tyler. I mean, it is very yeah, the level of sophistication and the swiftness is just amazing. When they do shut this down, it's such a news source for us. The amount of times that we've quoted this source in the mornings is amazing. And then you would get in David to embellish it. So I hope they don't shut it down.
it's actually quite a serious scenario because there's the South China Morning Post still exists. People can access it. They can actually see what's actually going on. And now if all of your news is controlled by Dear Leader, you're living in a fucking news vacuum. You are being fed only information that the state wants you to know. You have not a clue what's going on in reality. Your economy could be collapsing and you wouldn't know it. You could be at war and not know it.
Yeah, what's going to happen to the stock exchange in Hong Kong when they have no
What
news?
happens if the state controls all news, which is that's what they're saying? The government's making sure that it controls all the means of media, and then they attack Taiwan, and there's a war in Taiwan. Mainland Chinese wouldn't necessarily know unless they had friends outside of mainland, friends in Taiwan who were messaging them on WeChat, for example. Wild, totally wild. The laws controlling who can fund news gathering have been in place since at least 2005, according to South China Morning Post. Oh, no doubt they're the one reporting this. Let's see. Let's look at their version of this article. That should be entertaining. Beijing reiterates ban on private capital in news media, updating it to prohibit hosting events. A draft document banning private investment in news media now prohibits hosting news forums or presenting awards. The ban in place since 2005 has only been selectively enforced, but experts say the new document could cut off an important revenue source. in the new draft. The updated negative list, which restricts investment in certain industries, was released on Thursday. The document specifies that non-public capital, generally considered capital unrelated to the government or state-owned companies, shall not invest in, set up, or operate news agencies, newspapers, publishers, or radio or television stations. And then the question is, does that apply to Hong Kong? We'll find out. Oh boy. The next one is from, let me tweet that out. Thank you for that one, Dr. Fran. The next one's from Simon. Oh, we covered this one about Spotify in Africa. Thank you, Simon. And the next one's from BB from Nikkei, Japan. Honda starts selling cars online, highlighting new role for dealers. From Tesla to China's link, car makers seek deeper customer relationships. And this shows this Honda phone app. So you can design and order your next Honda from your phone. And why not? Especially if you can do like a cool
That's great, and you get better customer data as well.
If you get the AR, you can spin the whole thing around. Honda starts.
See how many kids fit in the minivan. See how uncool you look in it.
Honda
You can do a
starts.
test drive.
I'm just speaking
I'm
from
just
my own
concerned
life
about the
experience.
designs. It's going to be crazy to look at all the designs people come up with. It'll be insane.
Starts October. It just started. The next one's from Aaron from Fast Company. See the 8 most amazing sites at Nike's new LeBron James Innovation Center. The Nike Sports Research Lab has a new home in the House of King James. Take a long look inside where Nike turns athlete data into products. The Nike Sport Research Lab is the world's most advanced human performance lab. Every sport is completely trackable. 400 motion capture cameras and 97 force plates hidden in a court, track, and pitch precisely measure how hard you step or move in every direction. Kind of brilliant. The next one from Saudamini, this link from The Verge. The headline reads, Google TV is adding personalized profiles so that you can save all of your favorite content under your profile and share your Google TV with other people who use the same TV. You know, like Netflix has done for quite a while now. And the next one is from, who's this one? What's that one? We covered that one. Andrea Willman. That there's been an incredible amount of purchasing of farmland in America in recent years. Like really, truly remarkable. Bill Gates, most of all, is buying up huge size of states of farmland in America. Other people are too, notably BlackRock, one of the world's largest hedge funds. And now there's been, the headline is, according to AgWeb, which is an agriculture web page, that there's been a new record price for 1 acre of Iowa farmland. The question is, what is the new record price for 1 acre of farmland in Iowa?
1 trillion. No, sorry.
100,000.
I'll go with maybe 500,000 for 1 acre.
Wait, did you say the new? I think it's like 16K or something, or less than that. Maybe like 12.
325,000.
$1.
I'll take $1, Bob.
You said $1. I'm sticking with 500,000.
The answer is $26,000 per acre. A record amount of land could flood the market in the next 60 days. Oh, okay. So the next one from Shirok.
And then I'm just curious, what's an acre cost in Southern California?
Oh, Jesus.
About $1 million.
Yeah, my friend was looking up. They were just giving away land in Middle America and stuff like that, and it was interesting to see that even in I think it's North, like New York State, Buffalo, they were giving away houses as well, basically. So you could really go with a group of friends and just create a hydroponic farm in like Buffalo and stay in that.
Exactly. This country has so much land. You ever fly east to west across the U.S.?
Yep.
All this land, just nothing down there. It's amazing.
Yeah, and like when you fly, you kind of see how green it is, and you're wondering like where the drought is for the rest of America.
To make
The
it
difference is
cultural.
that, Buffalo isn't necessarily arable land. They're probably doing it to rebuild the community, whereas Iowa has some of the most fertile land, arguably, in the world. And, 30, 40 years ago, all of these smallholder farmers or family farmers were losing their farms. And so I think it's incredible now that fast forward, people are paying top dollar for that same land. But yeah, it's extremely rich, the soil in that part, in literally the middle of the U.S.
And then, sorry, Lakeisha, over here, right in Camarillo, right? Like, it used to be all farmland, and these families they farm the land for generation to generation, and then civilization moves in, and all of a sudden, that land they have is now worth, $600-700 million, and so this is a unique place to be, using unique time to be a farmer.
So true.
Okay, here we go. The next one is from CSQ. The Infiniti QX90 is a Tesla Cybertruck clone with curves instead of angles, which was just revealed as a concept car, a vehicle that looks remarkably like a Tesla Cybertruck, kind of. It's a very curvy Cybertruck. It's wild looking, that's for sure. You
It
can't.
is. I saw the specs on it and I thought, okay, this is great competition, but it doesn't really feel like Tesla. However, they're thinking about positioning themselves to compete, which is interesting.
I just tweeted it out so you can take a looky-loo at this one. It looks almost like who's the architect who built the Bilbao Guggenheim and the Walt Disney Auditorium in downtown LA?
Is it Frank Gehry?
Frank Gehry, yeah. Looks like a Frank Gehry car.
Does my 10-gallon hat fit in it?
The next one is
Tyler,
yes.
do you want to check the hand raise?
Okay, thank you.
I see Monica in the audience.
She doesn't. They don't have their hands up, but I see who else is around.
Hands up in the air.
Hold on here. Let's scrolling down. There's Florian. There's Erwin. I didn't see Monica. Where'd Monica go? There's Monica. I got Monica. Okay. So next up is from the World Economic Forum. The UK is building the world's first airport for flying cars. The pop-up venue will see electric flying taxis and drones operating in the city of Coventry. That huge metropolis of Coventry. That megatropolis that everyone keeps talking about.
The thing that Coventry is famous for, Tyler, is in the times of Charles Dickens, when he was writing his kind of Hard Times and all of those novels, there was a phrase called "sent to Coventry," which is why I find this location really funny, because sent to Coventry is basically your exile. Anyway, that's the context, the only context I've got for Coventry, living pretty nearby it.
Okay. So, Netta just found an interesting one from Daily Mail UK that another Facebook whistleblower who said she felt she had blood on her hands after working as a data scientist for the tech giant is willing to testify before Congress. Oh boy. Here we go. Round 2.
Blood on your hands?
Blood on her hands? I need more.
Yeah.
You want more on this one? Here we go. You asked for more. You got it. Another Facebook whistleblower who said she felt blood on her hands after working as a data scientist. Sophie Zhang last year accused Facebook of not doing enough to tackle hate speech and misinformation on its platforms, particularly in developing countries. On Sunday, she said she had passed documentation on to U.S. authorities. She did not reveal what the information was or which agency she provided it to. Zhang comments, came after former Facebook employee Frances Haugen testified before Congress that Facebook puts its profits ahead of users' health. Facebook has denied both Zhang and Haugen's accusations. Sophie Hong, who last year accused Facebook of ignoring fake accounts and used to undermine foreign elections. Ignoring fake accounts that were used to undermine foreign elections, told CNN on Sunday that she passed documents on to the U.S. law enforcement agency. I provided detailed documentation regarding potential criminal violations to a U.S. law enforcement agency. My understanding is that the investigation is still ongoing, Zhang tweeted on Sunday. She declined to reveal which agency she contacted or describe the documents. Zhang told an outlet that she had been encouraged by the response to the testimony of fellow Facebook whistleblower Frances Haugen, who last week spoke to the Senate subcommittee after leaking tens of thousands of internal documents. Haugen's testimony, which covered a broad range of issues, blah, blah, blah. Zhang's concern was that Facebook was not doing enough to combat misinformation on its platforms. After being fired from her role as a data scientist last year, she wrote a memo explaining her concerns and saying that she believed Facebook was particularly poor at policing misinformation and hate speech in smaller and developing countries. Zhang, who had worked for the tech giant for almost 3 years, was told that she was being let go because of issues with her performance. In a memo, she wrote that she had blood on her hands. It was picked up by BuzzFeed and prompted The Guardian to launch an investigation into the allegations. And Facebook has consistently denied that it is not doing enough to tackle misinformation and hate speech on its platforms. We have also taken down over 150 networks seeking to manipulate public debate since 2017. Speaking to the Associated Press on Sunday regarding Haugen, Zhang said she was surprised the company had not caught her when she was going through company research. Zhang added that she believed Facebook's fierce denials encourage employees to speak out. I think they've fallen into a trap where they keep making denials and hunkering down and becoming more incendiary. And this causes more people to come forward. And the question is, how does she describe the blood on her hands thing?
Yeah,
That's what I'm
I
waiting
was
for.
listening and I wasn't
Well,
getting anything.
I remember her name. She came up in a headline 5 months ago, and I recall at the time she gave a little more color into how it was how Facebook's being used in countries that don't speak English, where they weren't able to moderate the content, and there was a bunch of hate speech.
Like Myanmar, I think, right?
No, I thought it. Let's see. Well, the problem is when you Google her now, there's a whole bunch of breaking news about her. And what I want to do is get the old articles. I think this is it right here. I think I found it. Facebook ignored or was slow to act on evidence that fake accounts on its platforms have been undermining elections and political affairs around the world, according to an explosive memo sent by a recently fired Facebook employee and obtained by BuzzFeed. The 6,600 word memo is filled with concrete examples of heads of governments and political parties in Azerbaijan and Honduras using fake accounts or misrepresenting themselves to sway public opinion. In countries including India, Ukraine, Spain, Brazil, Bolivia, and Ecuador, she found evidence of coordinated campaigns of varying sizes to boost or hinder political candidates or outcomes, though she did not always conclude who was behind them. In the 3 years I spent at Facebook, I found multiple blatant attempts by foreign national governments to abuse our platform on vast scales to mislead their own citizens and caused international news on multiple occasions, wrote Zhang, who declined to talk to BuzzFeed. Her LinkedIn profile said she worked on the data and site integrity. I have personally made decisions that affected national presidents without oversight and taken action to enforce against so many prominent politicians globally that I've lost count.
That's a serious accusation.
Big time.
Both that she actually acknowledges and that it at the platform does it.
Where does blood come in here, though?
Yeah, if she has
Yeah,
Likely the
brushed with
outcome.
Yeah, it
I
might be the
want.
outcome. If she has been part of crushing opposition in countries and etc., that's really blood on their hand.
Absolutely. And this weighs far more than the other troubles they've seen this year. So we'll
Well,
see how it shakes.
the funny thing is this whole BuzzFeed article, this was in September last year, 2020. So just over a year ago. And it didn't really make waves.
Or
Was
there's
in the
been quiet
it was
investigations.
Yeah, but the thing was that we had a very, very bad COVID situation,
Uh-huh.
so it might be lost in the white noise.
Well, check it out. It also says that she, and I remember this now, this is the same person. And we talked about it here very briefly. I wonder if anyone recalls specifically this paragraph where she turned down the $64,000 severance package from the company to avoid signing a non-disparagement agreement. Doing so allowed her to speak out internally, and she used that freedom to reckon with the power that she had to police political speech. There was so much violating behavior worldwide that it was left to my personal assessment of which cases to further investigate, to file tasks and escalate for prioritization afterwards. With no oversight whatsoever, I was left in a situation where I was trusted with immense influence in my spare time, she wrote. A manager of the strategic response mused to myself that most of the world outside the West was effectively the Wild West, with myself as a part-time dictator. He meant the statement as a compliment, but it illustrated the immense pressures upon me. Anyway, yeah, I remember her not
Yeah,
taking the $64,000 severance package to avoid signing the non-disparagement agreement, and I joked, I recall at the time, that she would then have a book deal or a movie deal, and that's why she didn't want to take the $64,000 severance package. Anyway, what's interesting is that,
Yes, I can testify. I remember you exactly saying those words, man.
right. So the point is, hers coming out a year ago is potentially far more damning than the Miss Haugen's whistleblowing about how Facebook puts profits before its users, and yet didn't get nearly the attention. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, why didn't Wall Street Journal run with that angle? I don't understand that.
Well, it sort of lends credence to all of the things that people have been saying about Facebook, which hasn't been weighing much, right? This sort of gives it a bit boost.
They had returned with the takedown was announced by Facebook. In Azerbaijan, she found a large network of inauthentic accounts used to attack opponents of the president and his ruling party, which used the acronym. It was still not disclosed. According to Zhang. Anyway,
This is very interesting.
it's a really interesting article, so I'm going to tweet it out, and hopefully somebody can. Oh, here's the quote. Here it is. I have blood on my hands. Here it is. In other examples, Zhang revealed new information about a large-scale fake account network used to amplify and manipulate information about COVID-19, as well as a political influence operation that used fake accounts to influence 2018 elections in the US and Brazil. Some of these details were not previously disclosed by Facebook, suggesting that the company's regular takedown announcements remain selective and incomplete. Zhang said Facebook removed 672,000 low-quality fake accounts after press reports in April that some of the accounts had been engaging in COVID-19 content on the Spanish Health Ministry's page. She said accounts in the network also engaged with content on US pages. Facebook did not disclose how many accounts it removed or that those accounts engaged with the content in other countries, including the US. Well, that still doesn't really.
Where's the blood on the hand?
I'm still reading. I mean, I'm going to tweet it out, so if anyone can find it, please jump back in. There it goes. It's from BuzzFeed. Okay, and the next one, BB sends in this one from Hacker News that Apple releases urgent iPhone update to patch new 0-day vulnerabilities. Apple has released urgent updates to address critical vulnerability that it says is being exploited in the wild. And, well, we know that because we read about these about a week and a half ago when the person who found these vulnerabilities tried to contact Apple and said, hey, Apple, I just found 4 0-day vulnerabilities. Why don't you fix them? And they didn't really respond. So he posted them publicly to his GitHub account and said, boom, there they are. Fix them. And now Apple's urgently requiring everybody to update.
This is your hourly Chris uses a burner phone on Clubhouse reminder.
The next one's from Poppy from the Hill. Disaster fatigue is getting worse with more billion-dollar extreme, spectacularly costly climate-related disasters are the new normal. They're calling it disaster fatigue. Are you kind of tired of all these disasters? You may suffer from disaster fatigue. Symptoms may include ranting on Facebook, spectacularly costly disasters are the new normal. Major hurricanes are devastating coastal communities and bringing flooding thousands of miles inland. Wildfires are burning for months. Heat waves are scorching places where people don't have air conditioning. Events like these have all happened just this year, and they contributed to another huge annual bill of billion-dollar disasters tracked by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. The cleanup and recovery from these events can take weeks, months, even years. According to the recent analysis by the Climate Central, the recovery time between events is shrinking. The U.S. is now averaging $1 billion disaster every 20 days. Disaster fatigue. Okay, next one up is from RCC, from Vox. The headline is The Problem with America's Semi-Rich. America's upper middle class works more, optimizes their kids, and are miserable. It's easy to place the blame for America's economic woes on the 0.1%. They hoard a disproportionate amount of wealth and are taking an increasingly and unacceptably large part of the country's economic growth. To quote Bernie Sanders, the billionaire class is thriving while more people are struggling. Or to channel Elizabeth Warren, the top 0.1% holds a similar amount of wealth as the bottom 90%, a staggering figure. There's a space between the 0.1% and the 90% that's often overlooked, the 9.9% that reside between them. The 9.9%? They are the group in focus in a new book. The 9.9%, the new aristocracy that is entrenching inequality and warping our culture. Okay.
Are you in the 9%?
The 9.9%.
Do you need some help? Are you time poor?
There are some defining characteristics of today's American upper middle class. They are hyper focused on getting their kids into great schools and themselves into great
Check.
jobs.
Check.
At guilty, at which they're willing to work super long hours.
Check.
They want to live in great neighborhoods.
Check.
And even if that means keeping others out.
Double check.
Double check.
These things are pretty ubiquitous, right? You could
No
read
one's
this
coping
across
that.
the UK, Ireland, anywhere, right? This is just, I don't know.
And
Yeah,
This is the
that's big time
society
here.
today, right?
and will
Like,
pay,
do you want to dig yourself out of your current situation or not? If so, you're in the 9%.
and will pay what it takes to ensure their family's fitness and pay what it takes and will pay what it takes to ensure their family's fitness and health. They believe in meritocracy, that they've gained their position in society by talent and hard work. They believe in markets. They're rich, but they don't feel like it. They're always looking at someone else who's richer. They're also terrified. While the 9.9% drives inequality, they want to lock in their positions for themselves and their families. They're also driven by inequality. They recognize that American society is increasingly one of have-nots, and they're determined not to be one of them. Well, okay, now I am fully guilty of that last one. But you can go to a very remote place, buy some very cheap land, and make yourself a farm with a solar powered deep well. And
Hint,
that
hint, Thailand.
and I'm more concerned with that sort of have and have nots. I want to be
That's gang shit.
when we talk about haves and have nots, there's people who have their own food and energy and water, and then there's the have nots who do not have control of their own food and water and energy. And I do not want to be a have not. I want to have water and food and energy.
But I
Tyler, I
think,
have a Wharton. I
yeah,
have a
no,
Wharton
Chris, you go first.
MBA. I have a Wharton MBA. I mean, this should feed me, right?
I
The
recently
lies we've been told.
Yeah, I think it's like somehow I feel it may be trying to lead to the fact that people acquiesce to, I don't know, the major system as a whole and just feed the endless cycle of, the whole perpetual. I forget what the buzzwords are for it, but just that thing over there.
Okay, so tweeting that one out for those who want to read that. And then Anna Marie sends in this one, that the next big cyber threat isn't ransomware, it's killerware. And it's just as bad as what? What's that? Hackers increasingly are targeting infrastructure from hospitals and water supplies to banks and transit in ways that could injure or kill. She says most hospital execs I know are fully acknowledge the secure and redundancies in place at hospitals' health systems right now are inadequate. Oh boy.
And they are ill prepared to handle it. That's the scarier part.
And why is that article not loading? Let's try it again. That one does not want to load. Okay, so we go on to the next one from Shirok, that the EU countries call on Brussels to label nuclear power as green. The member states argue that the current energy crunch, which has sent electricity prices soaring, makes the case for nuclear as an affordable low-carbon energy. Well, there's a debate we could have here.
That's a big lean, I guess.
It's very interesting now with oil back up to $80 a barrel and with no end in sight, and India shutting down power due to running out of coal, China as well running out of coal and turning off
Germany
power.
shut down all its nuclear plants, so I think they're in quite a
I
pickle.
think
They need that gas
I
from
believe
Vladdy Putin.
Sweden did to a degree as well. So they might not have a choice. They keep running out of coal. A Netflix suspends trans employee and others for crashing Chappelle meeting. Oh boy. So David Chappelle has a new special out called The Closer, which I've not yet seen. Has anyone seen it?
Yeah,
Not yet.
And the reports are that he's rather, I should say, the trans community say that he's bashing. Was reports surfaced noting
yeah,
that I'll just read it because I think they have a better grasp than I do because I haven't seen it. Reports surfaced noting that Netflix recently suspended a trans employee and two other employees after they blasted David Chappelle's new stand-up special, The Closer. It was noted that Tara Field, a senior software engineer for the company who identifies as trans and uses she/her pronouns, was suspended after she and two other employees stormed the QBR meeting. What is QBR? The meeting is reportedly a 2-day quarterly business review, there you are, QBR, that brings together the top 500 employees at the streaming platform. While the meeting was a quarterly business review, Netflix CEO asked other executives how the company should respond to employee and talent concern over Chappelle's recent special. Because, just to pause for a second, because there was a whole bunch of backlash and people were threatening to leave if Netflix didn't remove the special. And I believe one person
Yeah,
voluntarily left saying they don't agree to. No, it was a showrunner for another show on Netflix.
yeah. They're white people
Yes.
showrunner. Yeah, I've read the article in part, and
Right.
I've been seeing a lot of it on
I
Twitter.
saw,
To
I
be
saw
fair,
the show, and it's cringeworthy, but I laughed, so I don't know what that
are you
says
talking about
about
their
me.
white people, or
No, the latest special. The issue with Chappelle, he's a big number one in comedy. He's too big to cancel. I mean, he could do anything. He could go just create his own show, and he'd get millions of
Yeah.
wait, you think it was
subscribers.
cringeworthy? Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
This is the whole point here is that people were, some very large groups were trying to persuade Netflix to remove it.
Yeah,
And
Netflix aren't going to do that at all.
right, and it seems not only are they not doing that, they're removing one of their own trans
Yeah,
team members.
what I heard
But
from the Netflix CEO was that it wasn't about whether she wanted to express herself or not. It was the fact that she broke into the meeting and decided to disrupt the whole session. Like the CEO was like, free speech, yeah, that's what we're here for, but there's a time and a place for it, and it wasn't at the QBR.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, that's why she was suspended. But yeah, it's much like all of the whistleblower stuff, but in just the most, I don't know how to explain it, but in that way that she did it, it wasn't the way that you should be doing stuff. Like you can do it through your art. And I also read another article today where it was like comedy has a different place in artistic expression rather than thinking you can cancel someone just off the strength of your feelings, right? So, and because Dave Chappelle has a, in quotes, history of talking about the trans community from these Netflix specials, it's been leading up to this big hoopla where it's like they want Dave Chappelle stuff off, but it's not going to happen because Dave Chappelle happens to be Dave Chappelle, right? And they probably even find him funny. Like, so it's one of those ones. Like, through her art, she could talk about Dave Chappelle. Like, I remember the South Park writers spoke about Kanye West and he hated that and all of these things. But there's times and places and ways that you can express yourself. And yeah, the QBR wasn't the place. But if you didn't find the Dave Chappelle thing funny, it's not really my business. But it's his art at the end of the day, and they paid for it. So if you're paying in excess of over 50 M's, then yeah, you're not really gonna say we're not trying to recruit that, basically.
Well, here's another interesting point, which is from what I understand, and I could be wrong, that Netflix paid for 6 specials, and then he creates the 6 specials. This is incredibly similar to record deals, where a music artist signs a record deal for 6 albums, and then they make the 6 albums. And on each album, the platform, the record label or Netflix, has the option to do the next record or special. So you did the first one, great, well done, okay. And then you, the artist, say, okay, great. Are you going to execute your option to do the next one? Oh, you are? Okay, great. Well, that means you have to send me, $100,000, and then I go make the second one. Great. Okay, great. Then you do the second one. And that goes then based on the performance of the second one. Now you have the third one. Are we going to do the third one? It's your option. You, the platform, you, the studio, you, the record label. Are you going to do the third one? Oh, you are. Okay, great. And we do the fourth and the fifth and the sixth. And I believe this one was the sixth one, the final one of the whole contract. And they essentially had already paid for it. And I can guarantee you, knowing Dave Chappelle, that he had as part of his contract that when he does his special, he can put whatever the fuck he wants in that special.
100%.
Unedited.
100%.
Unedited. Utterly, utterly, utterly unedited. Whatever he wants. By the way, this happened in the music business with Frank Zappa, who did a deal, and he insisted on the wording of having complete artistic control, which is what that means. You can do whatever you want. You could make fart noises for 90 minutes on a record and turn it in and say, there's your record, sir. Enjoy the fart noises. That's what artistic control is. And Dave Chappelle insists on artistic control. So he's already got the money. They've already paid it.
Yeah, he's even famous for turning down a lot of money, so it's not about the
Millions.
money for him. Yeah, like 50 million. Then he was rumored to get 30 to 50 million per special that he done for Netflix as well. So yeah, there's a lot that goes
But that's
into
what I
that
mean.
type
Like,
of money.
if Netflix already paid for it, they want to get their money back. So they're going to air the thing. It's going to take a whole lot of heat for them to take that thing down because they've already paid for it. That's my
Even if
guess.
they attempted to do it, it would be something performative, like, well, we won't bring him back again. Other
Right.
than that, they're going to get their ROIs from this. It's
Right.
insane to even think that you can, cancel him at this point.
Right. And I think he might intentionally try and push the boundaries of, what's cancelable or
No, not
not.
might, he will.
Oh yeah,
He will.
knowing that he has full artistic control and that it will air. he's probably taking the liberties of that and whatnot.
Yeah, I followed his career quite closely with that, and even with the specials that he done in between during COVID and stuff. Like, he's been trying to get this point across where comedians should be allowed to joke about every and anyone, and
I
that's
mean,
what he did
he's
during his
offended
special.
everyone. He's offending
Yeah,
white people, black people. I mean, Asians. I mean, he's been pretty brutal
yeah,
on
he
his subjects.
yeah, he's broached the toughest subjects in the world, and politically, or like, emotionally, and for the performance of comedy it's necessary in some regard, but then other people say it's harmful, but I guess that's each to their own.
Okay, so the next one is from Sudamini. Sends in this one: China China to set assessment measures to regulate data sent abroad by cars. China, the world's biggest auto market, said on Monday it will roll out an assessment measures to regulate data sent abroad by vehicles. Well, we already went through this with Tesla, where they told Tesla you cannot send any data out of China, and you turn off your cameras on your car because we don't want any of those cameras getting anywhere near our government buildings. You're a spy, y'all. Turn off the cameras. And then they had to, but that's the autonomous driving capabilities, yada, yada, yada. So they had to store all the data in the sovereign clouds inside of China. Same issue as I'm no doubt this article is about. China, the world's biggest auto market, said Monday it's rolling out the assessment measures as cars become smarter with more in-car entertainment information and autonomous driving functions. Automakers and tech companies are gathering more data from vehicles, raising privacy and security concerns. China's Ministry of Industry and Information Technology did not offer details about how the assessment would be done. According to the current rules, auto companies cannot export key vehicle data abroad unless they obtain approval from regulators. The ministry said regulators will improve monitoring of vehicle data security and encourage telecommunication companies to invest more in cybersecurity technologies. The move comes amid China's push to ensure the security of data as the proliferation of smart cars such as Tesla electric vehicles fuels concerns about national security in line with its broader aim to tighten policies around privacy. Beijing has been increasingly concerned over the mountains of data amassed by private firms and whether such information can be attacked or misused, especially by foreign states. It recently implemented a new data security law and is tightening up oversight in other related areas. Makes sense.
Likewise, the data their EV cars collect all around the world.
Yes. Meanwhile,
The
China's
other
trying to push
countries,
EV vehicles all over
yes,
the planet. Yeah. Fair point, Joe.
yeah.
Next one is from DW, Deutsche Welle, out of Germany. They're reporting the Taliban to meet with the EU. The talks come after Taliban members held a meeting with German officials. The Islamic fundamentalist group, which governs Afghanistan, say they want to meet with EU representatives. The EU has announced a $1 billion aid package for Afghanistan to prevent socio-economic collapse, and German Chancellor Angela Merkel said the world cannot stand by as 40 million people fall into chaos. The Taliban held talks with the European Union envoy in the Qatari capital of Doha on Tuesday. A day earlier, EU officials said the representatives from the United States would also take part. Ahead of the meeting, EU foreign policy chief said the bloc was looking to bolster its direct aid to the Afghan people in an effort to stave off the collapse. We cannot wait and see. We need to act, and act quickly, Borrell said after discussions with EU development ministers. We want positive relationships with the whole world. We believe in balanced international relations. We believe such a balanced relationship can save Afghanistan from instability, Taliban acting foreign minister Amir Khan Muttaqi said on Monday. EU spokesperson said the talks are an informal exchange of technical level. It does not constitute recognition of the interim government. She added the two sides will discuss access to humanitarian aid and women's rights and other issues. Separately, the leaders of the G20 group of nations were also holding a virtual conference Tuesday addressing the deteriorating economic situation in the country. As part of the summit, the EU proposed a $1 billion in emergency aid to Afghanistan to prevent what the European Commission president on Tuesday called humanitarian and socio-economic collapse. She emphasized the need to work fast, saying, "We have been clear about our conditions for any engagement with Afghan authorities, including on the respect of human rights. So far, the report speaks for themselves, but the Afghan people should not pay the price for the Taliban's actions." On the sidelines of the G20 conference, Angela Merkel said the international community cannot stand by and watch as 40 million people fall into chaos because they lack electricity and financial system. We all have nothing to gain if in Afghanistan the entire monetary system collapses or the financial system collapses, because humanitarian aid can then also no longer be provided. Merkel re-emphasized that Germany had pledged $600 million in humanitarian aid for Afghanistan and said UN agencies must be given full access to provide aid. However, the chancellor added that recognizing the Taliban officially as Afghanistan's government is not on Germany's agenda. Merkel's remarks come after a German delegation met with the Taliban in Doha on Monday for the first time. The officials taking part in those talks included German Special Representative for Afghanistan and Pakistan, along with someone who serves as the Germany's ambassador designate to Afghanistan. Following the discussions, the German delegation said the Taliban government is a reality. The group took over Afghanistan August 15 as the U.S. and NATO allies withdrew forces from the country. Okay.
So here's the thing. Taliban has already decided that they want international recognition and they spoke to EU, but will they go ahead and extend or accept the offer from Russia to meet in Moscow October 20th for a discussion? Because it seems like they're playing the field on both fences here.
I don't know if the EU would make that a condition that they not meet with Russia.
Correct.
They'll meet with anyone
It's
who's
getting
got
murky.
money. They got a lot of influence for sale.
See who they decide to go with. I mean, Putin has been courting them for quite some time, but meeting with the EU first says a lot.
It's going to be really interesting. And by the way, for those who haven't been following this topic, this is kind of an update, an overdue update, because it was predicted by economists who were watching on the ground closely that the economy is going to collapse, because the person that we quoted in this article, who's the new Taliban economic minister of Afghanistan, has no experience in economics. So experts said, "Oh, you're doing what? Yeah, that doesn't work like that. You can't put somebody who has no economic experience as the head of your economy. It will collapse." Hey, everybody, Afghanistan's going to collapse in about 3 weeks. We read those headlines 3 weeks ago. So this is an update saying, yep, here we are 3 weeks later, it's going to collapse. So, this is a really tricky one, isn't it? I mean,
It is. I mean, remember, Taliban owes a lot of their success to Russia. They've been running around the world speaking to everyone, but I just feel like they may destabilize themselves in the future with all of this. They have to pick a line, pick a lane, and stay there.
but wouldn't the people that are there, who are in favor of the Taliban, would, if they're forced to go through a famine, would rethink their allegiance to the Taliban?
And there you go. Which means, do we then enter back into the country to stabilize them once they decide
Oh my
they
goodness.
want to uproot? I mean, this is a cycle. I'm concerned.
It's wild. I mean, they're not capable of running a country. So
Yeah, not at all. So who oversees this? Whom will they choose?
it's
And how much investment do we have in this? The stakes are too high for us at this point, honestly. Can we afford to even spend another 20 years there? I think not.
It's a trap. It's a trap for China, guys. It's a trap. I mean,
America's like, China, have at it.
Yeah, exactly.
it got the Soviet Union, it got us, you know, it got all of us. It's the trap that big countries that want to be superpowers go into, believing they can handle it because they believe they have the operational prowess to do it, but they don't. It's too factioned, it's too split up, there's too much blood.
Yeah, shouldn't they be going to China? I mean, China is going to come in and take out the resources, and it seems like they met with China. China says we're going to be your partner. Everything's going to be gravy. Okay, great. You're with China,
But to be honest, can China even afford it at this point?
but if is
I say
isn't it
no.
on China's morals or conscience to, or maybe China wants it to collapse because then it's easier to extract all the resources.
To, absolutely. And with China focusing on Taiwan and also their economy taking such a blow, should they go in or should they just wait for the fall to happen and collect whatever's left of the dust?
It's if I were Europe, I would be like, hey, so that's nice. You want to talk to us? What's up with your friend China? You went over there. You had a nice little photo opportunity. You said they're going to be your substantial partner in developing your economy. How's that working out?
Hard questions.
I mean, they took photos together, shaking hands and the whole shebang. And they even made big announcements, big press releases. China's going to be our big development partner.
Our big brother.
It's all
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Oh, well, Tyler, a few days ago, there were rumors that there was a Chinese plane with Chinese troops in Bagram Air Force
Yes,
Base.
I saw. Well, not only that, by the way, the China denied it. And then I saw an actual photos of Chinese folks with the Taliban at the airport, like super, super up close, like in action, um, in one of the headlines we read a few days ago. So they're definitely there. I don't understand.
If I were China, I'd have a finger in the pot, but not my whole hand.
That's such a tough one. The next one from Poppy, USA Today. Google Search launches new built-in features to help you tune your guitar. We did it, everybody. We're done. We did it. 2021's a success. We got climate change, you've got Afghanistan, what have you, but Google just made it possible for you to tune your goddamn guitar. A simple Google
It's all
search
that matters.
will now bring access to a perfectly tuned guitar with the help of a smartphone or a computer. Hello? And you think technology isn't magic? Come on.
That brings delight, Tyler. You know that brings delight.
The next one from CNN. Another company is offering edge of space balloon trips, but at just $50,000, which is about half the price of what these other balloon folks were charging. The space balloon race is in full effect as Arizona's Worldview offers a 5-day trips 100,000 feet above the Grand Canyon at a bargain price of $50,000. Who's in? And
I'm in.
do they have
Do
connectivity? And can we get on
they have
Clubhouse?
Wi-Fi?
Yeah. What do you do for the ultimate bragging rights when you've already visited the Grand Canyon, the Great Barrier Reef, the Serengeti, and the Giza Pyramids? You go see them all again, but from the edge of space. Stratospheric ballooning company Worldview has just opened the reservations to get in line for an epic 5-day balloon voyages that promises to take travelers 100,000 feet above some of the most magnificent landmarks on the planet. Want to check? Wait, 100,000 feet? That ain't that high. Hold on.
20 miles.
Yeah, you'll need oxygen.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, you'll need. Yeah, you're in a enclosure, but you can't even begin to call that anything near space, really. 23
I
miles
mean,
into the stratosphere. Yeah, they're calling it the stratosphere. The idea is that flights will take off from these premium locations and lift 8 passengers and 2 crew members up to 100,000 feet altitude, about 4 times higher than a standard commercial airplane flight and nearly 23 miles into the stratosphere. They'll zoom on up there in a zero-pressure balloon and pressurized space capsule, which will then gently float into the atmosphere, allowing guests to experience the Earth's curvature and the awesome darkness of space. Each trip on board the craft will last 6 to 12 hours, during which time guests can enjoy the in-flight dining and bar and internet data connection. Hello, y'all! Tech news around the world, literally. And make use of the in-flight concierge check out of the Earth View cameras, Star View telescopes, and individual viewing screens, or just chill on the fully reclining seats. There it is. Space balloons. Okay.
Will they let me hang my head out of the window so I can get a killer Instagram shot?
the ultimate selfie. The next one, fashion meets tech. Textiles Ministry. Oh, no, in India, a company called Mirror Size uses AI to dress India right. Textiles Ministry in India is developing an India-specific standardization size chart for the textiles and garment industry with the help of 3D body scanners so that people can do 3D body scanning and know which actual size they should buy. This is pretty brilliant. We're going to need this somewhat globally for clothes in the near future as we shift into AR shopping, so that you can really know how the garment at each of these sizes work. We need to really standardize the sizes and the apps that go along with those sizes. The next one is Amazon drops its return to office plan and will now let most employees work from home. He said he's going to let the team leaders decide. And ex-Apple employee Simon Lancaster faces criminal investigation. Apple's former employee Simon Lancaster, who was being prosecuted by the company for allegedly stealing and leaking its private trade details to media, is now facing a new criminal investigation around the ongoing case for stealing information, according to a new court documents. Lancaster is facing an open criminal investigation by Santa Clara District Attorney's Office. Lancaster's attorney has filed a motion to stay the civil suit, claiming that the two lawsuits are similar. Apple filed the lawsuit against Simon Lancaster back in March 2021, who worked as a materials lead for stealing private trade secrets about one of the company's projects and then leaking them to the media. Oh boy, an Apple whistleblower got beat down. Now, as another proceeding in the lawsuit filed by Apple is scheduled for November 18, 2021, Lancaster has at least 4 search warrants executed by the state in respect to online accounts and information on 2 computers used by former Apple employee. As mentioned, the search warrants are based on the cause that the information sought was stolen or embezzled, or evidences the commission of a felony. Lancaster's attorney has sought his Fifth Amendment rights and asked the court to stop the proceedings of Apple's lawsuit until the state's investigation is completed. In a conversation with the press, the defendant's side presented that Lancaster admits of communicating with a reported covering technology issues regarding Apple's products and workplace issues he considered to be public concern. However, he did not agree to be the source for the articles published related to the Apple's Project X and other private trade details. What was Apple's Project X? From what it looks like, the state's case was filed before Apple lodged the lawsuit against Lancaster. However, he was not aware of it until recently. Lancaster's attorneys are appealing that both the cases are competing in interests. And this is from India. No wonder the English is really weird in this one. If the appeal is accepted, Apple's lawsuit will be put to stay until Well, it'll be interesting to see the outcome of that lawsuit, that hearing. Okay, thank you for that one, Sunamini. And last but not least, and this one could take a while, from Poppy, the grotesque silence of journalists who say nothing about CIA plans to assassinate Julian Assange. A recent bombshell report was met by Western establishment media with ghoulish indifference, a damning indictment of an industry that feverishly condemns attacks on press freedom in official enemy states. Yahoo News, just 2 weeks ago, published a bombshell report detailing the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency's secret war plans against WikiLeaks, including clandestine plots to kill or kidnap publisher Julian Assange while he took refuge in the Ecuadorian embassy in London. Following WikiLeaks' publication of the Vault 7 files in 2017, the largest leak in CIA history, which exposed how U.S. and UK intelligence agencies could hack into household devices, the U.S. government designated WikiLeaks as a non-state hostile intelligence service. Back on April 13th of 2017, providing legal cover to target the organization as if it were an adversarial spy agency. Within this context, the Donald Trump administration reportedly requested sketches or options for how to kill Assange, according to Yahoo expose written by Zach Dorfman. While the CIA drew up plans to kidnap him, Assange was expelled from the embassy in 2019 and has since then been in a British prison, fighting a demand that he be extradited to the U.S. to face charges of espionage. Shortly after publication, former CIA Director Mike Pompeo seemed to confirm the report's findings, declaring that the former U.S. intelligence officials who spoke with Yahoo should all be prosecuted for speaking about classified activity inside the CIA. It would seem that covert plans for a state-sanctioned murder on British soil of an award-winning journalist should attract sustained wall-to-wall media coverage. The news, however, has been met by Western establishment media with ghoulish indifference, a damning indictment of an industry that feverishly condemns attacks on press freedoms in official enemy states. BBC News, one of the most read news outlets in the world, appears to have covered the story just once in the Somali language section of the BBC website. Neither the New York Times or the Washington Post, two of the world's leading corporate news organizations, have published any articles about Julian Assange since July 2021. To its credit, since the story first broke on September 26th, The Guardian has reported twice on the CIA-led conspiracy to kill or kidnap Assange, but to offer perspectives. During the week of the Russian opposition figure Alexei Navalny was reported to have been poisoned by the Russian government, The Guardian published 16 separate pieces on the issue, including video reports and opinion pieces. Similarly, the Nexus search for British newspapers for the world Navalny brings up 288 results from August 2020. The same search for Assange brings up a mere 29 results, one-tenth, one of which, a notable exception, was a Patrick Cockburn piece in The Independent. As is typical of stories that embarrass the Western intelligence services, independent media provided crucial relief to the backdrop of chilling indifference. One thing the corporate media cannot be accused of with regard to Assange, however, is inconsistency. After the key witness in the Department of Justice's case against the publisher admitted to providing the U.S. prosecution with false testimony, a detail that could ordinarily turn a case to dust, the corporate media responded by ignoring the story almost entirely. The complete uniformity with which corporate media have treated this latest bombshell news raises even more concerns about how fundamentally intertwined and aligned they are with the interests of the U.S. government. Even after it was revealed that the UC Global security firm had targeted Assange, had also spied on journalists at the Washington Post and New York Times, neither outlet mounted any protest. Perhaps most remarkably, UK Judge Vanessa Barrister relied on a falsified CNN report to justify the CIA's spying operation against Assange. Now, CNN's website contains no reports of the agency's plans to kill or kidnap Assange. the establishment media's dismissal of Assange supports Edward Herman and Noam Chomsky's framework of worthy and unworthy political dissidents, with Assange situated firmly in the later camp. So what to make of that? One bit of intel that I have is that it turns out that often publishers like the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal get a lot of their information, their sources, from intelligence agencies like the FBI. And so when the FBI is caught planning to kill Julian Assange, they're not so quick to point it out.
Well, I don't understand what you're saying, Tyler. We're innocent. We don't do things like that.
Well, intelligence agencies use the media as, I think, one thing that a lot of people who read the media don't understand. When you see those sources, we have sources. Often those are intelligence agencies who know things, and they want to run it up the flagpole and notify the media that they've found some stuff, and they would like to see how the world reacts to the publicizing of that intel. And these publishers are quite indebted to those sources, and they know who those sources are. And so when those sources are found out to be planning to murder arguably a journalist, arguably a traitor, depends on how you perceive the role of Mr. Julian Assange. Was he a whistleblower? Whistleblower is as a word is in the news a lot lately. He would receive documents from sources, look over them to verify them, and then release them. And these documents were incredibly embarrassing to some governments.
Yeah, the question would be, how do you view the right thing, right? Because there is the traitor versus, I don't know, what you call him, hero, or just someone that opens up what foul things the government may do, but then people are patriarch in a way where it's like, I'd rather us than them, and you
Yeah,
nationalize yourself in that way, and
right. But
Chomsky does talk about that
yeah.
a lot.
So there's two issues. There's the issue of what is Assange, but then the issue in this article is whether you agree with him or not. It's been revealed that the FBI planned to kill him, had actual plans, had an actual operation scheduled, and they're not reporting on it.
But more importantly, as a journalist, you have to consider your relationship with these quote unquote sources moving forward when you see your own
Right.
colleague going through such a thing. Like
Correct.
that spells the larger story.
Correct.
The
So,
point of journalism is to be open to all people and just create what people are like. Literally, Tyler just had an article earlier where it was like the state controls the media, and you might not know what is actually happening in the country if the state has total autonomy over the media you consume, right? So the reality is the press is highly needed, and there's people that go to Afghanistan, right? And we can say they're wasting their lives out there, or we can say they're heroes for being able to show us what's actually happening in and around the world. And do you, like, freedom of the press is just as a major right in the world or necessary as being able to be safe in your home, because we need information to move forward and to keep ourselves safe. And them not giving him due process within their system is something to look upon and say whether we like it or not, because the reality stands that America does stand on freedom of speech first and right to bear arms and all of these other things. But then when we start talking about the CIA, everybody starts getting in this muddle of Do I want to say anything against America? Because this is the CIA and they can't operate on soil and all of these other things. So yeah, it's this tundra of um a mess of information and just people getting scared. But the journalists have the real right to say what it is, and that's why we have all of these hackers coming into these companies and showing us the details. It's not like they're fully stealing, let's say, money, but the data is necessary to understand. But it all
So,
depends.
leaving on a happier note, Evan found an article from the Daily Mail. A new cancer treatment can destroy tumors. Studies find. A study suggests the treatment triggers the body's immune system to attack cancer cells. A trial found medication led to a reduction and can destroy growth and may help people live longer. There we go. We can end on that super positive news. And we will meet again mañana, tomorrow, at our regular scheduled time. So click on the title and check out the Tech News Club. We just passed, by the way, 60,000 members yesterday. Well
Well
done,
done.
everybody.
Two now.
Congratulations.
Yeah. All right.